He sucks at interneting, I'm telling you.
Well, I'm looking at Amazon.
Why are you looking at Amazon?
First of all, that's teal and plum.
What the fuck? Plum is purple.
Plum, purple, magenta, it's all the same fucking thing.
No, that's plum.
God, you're such a girl.
That's just plum.
Plum is purple.
Plum
What
is
color
like
are
a maroon
plums?
purple.
What color? Oh, so it is purple.
It's like a maroon purple. It's not a true purple. Look, plum.
God, you're such
It's purple.
such
What
a
color
fucking-
are plums? Plums
such
are
a
purple.
fucking
That
girl.
means the color plum is purple. Fuck you. This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 58 for the week of February 25th, 2019. I'm one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez.
Hello.
And Justin T. Lopez.
Did you almost say 2018?
I almost said 2018.
I think you did
said
say
the beginning of
2018.
8.
It's like 2819.
Yeah.
Good catch.
I don't think I've made that mistake yet. Or if I've made that mistake, I've just rolled with it and none of us caught it. But I feel like that's the first time I've done a
It's just funny that you said 2018 and then you said 19 after it. It's like that bowler. Did you guys ever see that video of that bowler? He like wins a tournament or something like that, and he like yells at the crowd. He goes, "Who do you think you are? I am."
That also like both ways that doesn't work as like a victory cry.
No,
who do I think I am?
He wanted
But
to
you
say,
know,
"Who do you think I am?" But even then, it's like that doesn't really work. You
I
just
feel like
won
what
a
he
tournament.
wanted to say was, "Who's your daddy?" And halfway through, realized that's probably not okay to yell at.
So he
a crowd
goes,
of
"Who do you
strangers."
think you are?"
You know,
I am.
leading up to that, he thought that was going to be the coolest thing ever.
And
he
now
had it planned
now
in
he's
his
just
head.
now he's just a meme.
Right.
Yep.
It's like Neil Armstrong like getting ready to step off from the moon landing.
Yeah,
like,
but Neil
what am I
Armstrong's
gonna
not a
say? What am I
meme.
gonna say?
I love
Yeah,
that.
but he could have been. Like, what if he fucked up his line?
Well, that's like the Family Guy thing where it's like the ground control person that always wants to have the last word. So it's Lance Armstrong saying all of these, you know. Did I say Lance? I meant
Who?
Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong.
The
what
bicycle
the fuck is wrong
guy?
with me? It's Neil
No, the
Armstrong saying
musician.
all these iconic
Kenny
things.
G?
Saying all these iconic things. The person on ground controls. All right. Okay. We're going to get you home safe. Okay, great. All right. It just like ruins the
Do you
whole
think
moment.
if we landed on the moon in 2019, he would be a meme?
If he would have messed up his line?
No, just in
Just
general.
in general?
Yeah, because he probably would have taken a selfie of himself on the moon.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Probably.
So weird question. If I pulled out my phone in space with like no protection on it, would my phone still function?
No, because you're on the moon.
I get what he's saying. Not like cellular service. Like,
Oh.
if he could just take a picture.
not cellular service.
Oh.
I mean the device, like the hardware.
I don't know if there's a satellite up there.
Yeah,
no.
You might not have great signal.
Because there are liquid parts of it, right? Would zero gravity affect that?
No, not zero gravity, but just it's cold on the
temperature,
moon.
yeah.
The temperature would probably freeze the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would also assume that I don't know. It wouldn't be crushed. You know what I mean? It would just kind of be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it would work. That's a really good question.
But why would it
Because
not,
most of their on their equipment, I don't know astronauts. I know they wear those big puffy suits. But like I've seen like the newer astronauts, they have like heads at like LED displays on their wrist. But I don't know if that's like encased in something to make it work in space. I have no fucking clue.
I mean, they have like the moon rover, right? That worked.
Sure, but they use mechanical gauges.
Yeah, it doesn't use liquid parts.
Yep.
Are there not?
It uses all
what do you use? A
mechanical
battery?
gauges. The
What do you use?
yeah.
They use a battery?
Yeah, because it
Wouldn't be gas,
Well, I
right?
mean, it uses solar energy.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it would be a battery, but it would be storing solar energy.
Yeah, but most of it's all mechanical. Like
Mm-hmm.
the lunar rover, I don't think is an electric car. It's not a fucking Chevy Volt.
Your
know
phone,
what I mean?
your phone wouldn't know which way's up though. Like it would be like, is it landscape? Is it regular? I don't know.
Maybe like I said, I have no fucking clue. That's a science question. I did not study science.
Didn't the Mars rover just die?
Sure.
Opportunity did.
Oh, there's multiple rovers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sad day.
Either that or he was killed by Transformers.
No.
The Traveler's there, and he in the terraforming process of Mars, it just died.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If you guys haven't listened to us before, we're a podcast about video games. We record weekly, and we start the show with the same segment every single week. Justin, did you play anything besides Anthem?
Since last Tuesday, I beat Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
Like after we did. And that was fun.
His tweet was the dumbest thing in the world.
I didn't see it. What did you say?
It was something like I beat Kingdom Hearts 3 and it made me realize like the frailty of human beings or something.
That's not what I said.
I don't remember what he said, but it was super. It was super fucking cheesy.
I wanted to hear what. No, it was cheesy. I'll give you that.
Extremely cheesy.
It was basically something along the lines of like beating Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, something about your friends.
I realized, or it made me think about where my life was whenever Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, which I was much younger, but in the
at least 12 years.
Yeah. So in the time span, I was in 5th grade or 6th grade. So from then till now, like so many people have come in and out of my life. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, like that's a big part of Kingdom Hearts is like, even though you're not together anymore, like they're always going to be a part of you. And even though I don't talk to these people who I might have called like my best friends growing up, it made me still appreciate them, that they were still like a part of my life. So it wasn't cheesy.
Oh, no, that's cheesy.
I don't know.
That's real cheesy.
You and I are very different people, because I was listening back to last week's podcast and we were talking about how, like, if you died and your funeral was on the same night as D&D, I would be insisting on still playing D&D.
It's true.
And
that is true.
I was thinking through it, and I was like, there are so many friends that I've had in my life that I don't have friends anymore. Like, would Justin's family even invite me to Justin's funeral? Like, if it happened tomorrow, probably yes. But like, I'm assuming that you're gonna live for another 50 or 60 years. Chances are, I will probably die before you. But like, if you were to die first, it's like, would I even be invited? Which is a really dark thought, and I don't need an answer to. I don't need that. But it was like that. We're two very different people. You're like, all these people that were in my life will always be in my life, and then in my case, I'm like, Justin won't invite me to his funeral.
well, Justin can invite you to his funeral.
That's true.
Unless you send out invitations early.
I'm gonna work on that now
with an RSVP card.
Yeah,
it says, make sure you RSVP. Just send this in. Mm-hmm. You send it to a PO box, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you'd be invited. I'd invite you. Expect the invitation in the mail sometime soon.
So was Kingdom Hearts 3 was the ending everything you ever wanted from it?
Was it everything I ever wanted? No. Was it satisfying as far as like Sora's kind of story? Yeah. It made me feel good. That's all I could ask for from the game.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, storyline wise, there's a lot of open ends and more questions and stuff, but it was nice that just for a moment everything was kind of somewhat back to where it needed to be, like you got a lot of reuniting of people that haven't seen each other since like the beginning of the series.
Sure. You said Sora's story.
Maybe not Sora's story necessarily, but more so like the group, Sora's group.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was nice.
That I agree with.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Spoilers. What's wrong with the ending of Sora's story?
Sora has a power called the Power of Awakening, and it basically lets him. It kind of lets him transcend hearts, where he can, for the most part, like not necessarily bring people back from the dead, but he can find people's hearts that are lost, and in doing so,
they come back from the
dead. They can come back.
That's basically what happened in the first game with all the Disney
right,
princesses,
exactly,
right?
And they can come back.
Yeah,
and
the way they describe it in game is just he can traverse between worlds, like kind of.
It's more. Sure. It's more the heart thing.
Dimensions.
Like,
almost.
he can find people's hearts that are lost, and so he's been doing this since day one, basically. That's like you said in the first one. That's what he did with the princesses. It's what he did in Kairi's heart, Riku's heart, into the second one, and all these other ones. He's had hearts inside of him. So it's just special. And so at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, again, spoilers. If you're really playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and you don't want to hear it, like this is big spoiler. So 3, 2, 1. Kairi, which is the love interest, is killed. Flat out just killed.
She was Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, to an extent. Just not at the beginning of the game, at the very end of the whole story. She was killed for reasons, whatever. It was fine reasons. Actually, it was a really good reason why she died. But she dies. And they go on, finish the thing, beat the big bad guy, everything, blah, 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 blah. Sora goes, I need to go find Kairi. And King Mickey, who is like this, literally the all-knowing everything, because he's fucking Mickey Mouse, says, if you do this, you probably won't come back because you've done this so much that just you'll get lost basically. And Riku, which is Sora's best friend, is like, hey, this is his chick. Shut the hell up. He's going, right? So he goes, and then the credits roll, cutscene happens at the very end. It shows all of Sora's gang. Everybody from every game that was redeemed or was good, blah, 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 on Destiny Island. And they're playing like on a beach. It's a nice scene. But they look up and they see Sora and Kairi on their tree with the Paopu fruit. And they show them holding hands, and then Sora disappears. And you see Kairi crying. So the implication is
Sora got Kairi
out,
he died.
But he never made it back. Which is the end of Sora's story arc, which is why I don't think I'm satisfied with that. However, the secret ending
was the world ends with
which
you.
very much makes it seem like Sora is not dead.
Yeah.
And Riku went after him.
Okay.
So
that's what I got from that.
Yes.
It seems kind of odd though that like I don't know. This is just me criticizing something I haven't seen.
Sure.
But it seems kind of odd that you would set up this thing. You're basically kind of like setting up the next game. Like, oh, Sora's going to go save Kairi. And they don't show any of that.
Well, you're not going to see that. They're not setting up this. If there's another game with Sora, it's not him saving Kairi.
Well, it just meant like, it seemed like before when Mickey's like, hey, you're going to go do this thing. That seemed like it was alluding to something else.
Sure.
Then it doesn't show any of that in between. And then
Sure.
it shows like, oh, Sora's dead.
Yeah. Well, dead.
Yeah.
He's not dead. He just couldn't make it back.
Yeah, in both of those uses of dead, you didn't see the finger.
Right, exactly.
He,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
exists in some form, but
Well, he
it's not
exists. He fully exists. It's just not. He can't make it back to his.
world, universe.
Let's call it universe.
Dimension.
Yeah, let's call it a dimension or a universe, because Kingdom Hearts is weird, and this is the first time you've ever seen. Like, there's the universe of Kingdom Hearts, but it's very clear at the end in the secret ending of Kingdom Hearts 3, Sora and Riku are not in their world. They're not in their universe. They're like in our universe.
Yeah, they're in Tokyo.
Completely different. Yeah, exactly. And so it's weird. And the thing is like what isn't mentioned in that secret ending is the what do they call him? The master? What do they call that dude?
Which one?
The original dude in the black coat. The master, the true master, what the fuck they call him? I can't remember what they call him. But he's there. And you see in every Kingdom Hearts world, all the moons are in a heart shape. They're all heart-shaped moons. Every Kingdom Hearts world. But in the secret ending, like I said, they're in our universe, so the moon is full circle. And the master, who is the guy he's basically the guy that kicked off the entire saga of Kingdom Hearts, put his hands up to the moon in a heart shape, i.e. he wants to turn our universe or try to bring Kingdom Hearts into our universe, which is why Sora's there and why Riku goes after him. That's that's my interpretation of that whole thing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but yeah, it was very cool.
yeah, it's good game. I thought it was a great ending. Other than the Sora thing, I thought it was lame that he didn't get to spend the rest of his life with Kairi, because it's one of those things. It's like, what if what if the two people in the Notebook never got to spend the rest of their lives with each other, right? It's like a Romeo and Juliet type thing, except they don't both die. Only one of them does, and it's just dumb. So
Yeah.
It's very much it was the love story that like fans of the series have all kind of just been waiting for, and then it just doesn't happen. It's almost like if Ross and Rachel series ended.
It's like if Ross and Rachel never ended up together. Just be weird.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it, and I also did really like to kind of the what they did with the Organization 13 members, how they kind of just gave them all their retribution.
Oh, yeah,
almost.
absolutely.
Even Xehanort, too. That was nice.
The guy who literally doesn't exist. He's not going to have a body to go back to. Him or Anthem. They had a retribution, but there's no like. What are you freaking atoning for? You don't have a body to go back to. Like everybody else.
Will they all just combine? I don't know. Like
no.
They're just gone.
They're just gone. They were extensions of Xehanort. They're just gone. True.
Didn't think of that.
Yeah, we're like
that one's a little dark.
Yeah, we're like Larxene, Zyax, even fucking Luxor, all of the organization. They have bodies to go back to for whatever reason. And if they find retribution, we saw Zyax did, right?
With
Issa did with Axel.
This is just a lot of words. I'm just
but then
it's hard. No, even it's hard to keep track of the names.
But then
you guys might as well be speaking another language.
But then like the reveal of Zigbar being Lushu. It's like,
Yep.
holy fucking
What the
shit.
fuck?
These are real names.
Nothing. That was nothing.
No, these are 100% real names. And it makes sense in the ethos.
Zigbar being the Mushu.
No,
what?
well,
What are you talking about?
Well, it makes sense right? Because like, no, I'll forget it. It's
I'm
just,
sure
it was
it
a
does
really,
make
yeah.
sense.
I
I'm not
get
saying
you.
it doesn't make
It
sense.
was a
I'm
really,
just saying.
that was probably the best part of the ending.
And the with the
Is
foretellers.
finding out, yeah.
Listeners
It's finding
out
out.
there who don't understand Kingdom Hearts, just know that there's one person that was very
Yeah.
much probably thinking all the
Yeah.
same things
Hey,
you were
this
saying.
Yeah.
this is how I feel whenever you guys get deep into like World of Warcraft lore or
don't
even
do
Star Wars too.
Yeah, but Star
I
Wars.
feel like
is-
Star Wars is approachable.
Yeah, but Star Wars isn't as
Star Wars is approachable until you
complex
guys are like
as Kingdom Hearts is.
Like within
No, you guys
watching
get
the
into
first
the-
Star Wars movie, you sort of understand most of the terminology you need to code break
terminology,
deep
yes.
conversation.
Names and like the expanded universe.
Yeah,
is
but the thing
beyond
is like
me.
Star Wars, you got names like Luke and Leia and like
You know, Zigbar and
Jason,
Mushu.
yeah, Zigbar, Lushu.
Oh, Lushu, excuse me.
fucking- And then you got 13 different people who have normal names like, well, I don't know if Breg is a normal name, but Breg and Lee and Issa, and then you just add an X to them,
then you
and
just
then
kinda
shuffle
mix
the
it
way,
up.
shuffle the letters around, and that's their bad guy name. So like Issa becomes Zyx,
Lee becomes
Axel, like Breg becomes Zigbar. It's like, what the fuck?
That was adding a bunch of extra letters.
No, it's not.
It's just the
Breg
X
is
becomes a Z.
Braig.
Oh, so you added
Add an
extra letters
X.
to brag.
Yeah, you add an X into Breg and it
Because
becomes Zigbar.
you don't really need that A in brag. You can get away with just an E.
Sure.
Anywho, so
But I don't
Kingdom
think
Hearts,
I don't
yes.
think Breg is a real name, but I could be wrong. I've never heard anybody named Breg.
No, I haven't. Either.
Breg, whatever the how the fuck. Is that?
So, Chris, I'm gonna ask you because if I don't ask you, you're gonna give me shit. But
No,
did
I'm
you
not.
play anything besides Anthem?
No, I did not. Wait.
All right.
No, I did not.
All right. So the main reason why we have all gathered here today is
Oh god, I'm dying.
No,
It's,
it's,
let's
to
talk about
mourn
Anthem.
the death of Anthem.
Yeah.
let's talk about Anthem.
Gone
We
too
all played
soon.
it this weekend. We all played it together, which was great.
It was a lot of fun.
I just want to give like one thing. This will pretty much be our topic of the week, and we'll just knock this out at the beginning
Hooray.
of the show. But I
least
do
we
want to
say
get
it
like
now.
one thing off my chest. So I fell down like a rabbit hole last night, like while I was studying and doing some other stuff. I was just watching videos talking about BioWare and the death of BioWare.
Oh God,
And most of
that's not a rabbit hole I want to go down.
one of the things I watched like 3 or 4 videos, and
Sure.
this also I had watched a couple other videos at the beginning of the weekend. One of the things that absolutely is driving me fucking nuts about people talking about the death of BioWare is everyone keeps saying that Dragon Age Inquisition was a bad game. And it's like no one felt that way at the time. That game was amazing. Like you have your opinions about Anthem. I don't think that I don't think a lot of things are. We'll talk about it in a second. I think that Anthem is a flawed game. It's a great game, but it's flawed. Same with Mass Effect Andromeda. But let's not rewrite history to make it seem like everyone hated Dragon Age
I don't think
Inquisition.
I've ever seen
because they
anybody say
absolutely
that.
did not. I watched 4 videos yesterday where they're like, it all started with Dragon Age Inquisition. It's like, fuck you. And their
Interesting.
argument is that Dragon Age Inquisition isn't as good as Mass Effect 2 or 3. Well, Mass Effect 2 and 3 aren't as good as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. So does that make them awful games? It fucking drives me insane that in this like crusade to like destroy BioWare, which is basically what people are doing, they don't have to worry about EA shutting down
Sure,
BioWare.
I don't
The
think
fans
it's-
are doing it.
I don't think
but
it's
in
a-
their crusade to do that, they're
Sure.
dragging Dragon Age Inquisition through the mud. And
I
it's
ag-
fucking insane.
I agree with the term crusade to destroy BioWare, but I don't think they're doing that, but they're doing it by proxy.
Oh no, they don't. I don't. If you ask them,
yeah,
they would say
like,
no.
yeah, of course, but they're doing it by proxy because they're looking for the clicks.
But if every 4 hours there's a new video about how BioWare has lost its way, you don't think EA is going to watch that? You don't think EA is going to be like, well,
sure.
okay, we can never put out another BioWare game again, so we might as well just
Possibly.
shut down the studio and
Right.
reassign everyone.
sure, possibly.
But and even then, I don't. At this point, like BioWare is BioWare. I think that they can come back from this. I think that they are going to turn Anthem into an amazing game. I already think it's a great game. But let's not pretend like Dragon Age Inquisition was the start of a bad
kickoff.
era.
Sure, yeah.
Like in a lot of ways, Dragon Age Inquisition is their best game. It embraces their cinematic Mass Effect 2 era, but it goes back to their Dragon Age origins
It also
and KOTOR roots
it also
of
expands,
hardcore RPGs.
expands on the choices that the illusion of choice you had in all BioWare games, where choices in Dragon Age Inquisition to an extent mattered more than they ever did.
It also arguably has, if not the best cast of companion characters, the second best cast
like
of
the gay
companion
guy.
characters. No, but they're all great.
Well, Sarah's not great.
Yeah, but Sarah's like, at least Sarah is fun, you know. Like
Sure.
Sarah's like the Jack
Sure.
of Dragon Age Inquisition.
But also, Iron Bull's weird.
I think
like Iron
I
Bull,
think
though.
people would be reaching for Dragon Age Inquisition just to back up their theory of like BioWare's been like on a downward slope.
But that's the thing.
But
Is
no
like
one
why?
like it won Game of the Year.
I know,
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's-
why reach so far back when all you got to do is go back to Andromeda? And
well,
even
but I
then-
think that's why they want more. Like they don't want to just pick on Andromeda because
sure, and
everyone
even
knows
and even
kinda how
then,
that
like
went.
even then, it's an uneducated theory that they have, because if you studied or just researched Andromeda at all, it wasn't BioWare's decision to launch this game with bugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was EA's decision to hire out a separate animation studio to animate the faces, or it's because BioWare was like, hey, we need more time, so EA's like, no, we'll just hand this off to another studio, and they literally fucked up the animations.
I mean, here's what it is. Like this is what's happening. Everyone hates EA,
sure.
and so there is
what? No, everybody hates EA except for Apex Legends.
Well, but the reason this is another thing I heard a bunch of times in these videos over and over again. Apex works because EA didn't have their toes in it, and they weren't like manhandling that project, so it's
God,
not really an EA project.
What a fucking load of horseshit.
Yep. Anyway, so going back, everyone hates EA, and so everyone's predisposed. Thank you. What is wrong with me?
They're predispositioned
to hating Anthem. And here's the thing about Anthem, and I think I said this on Twitter or I said it on Instagram or somewhere. Anthem is better than Destiny at launch, Destiny 2 at launch, The Division at launch, Warframe at launch. It's better than all of these shared world games that we want to pretend are the best games ever. It's better than all those games were at launch.
Well, we're pretending those are the best games ever after 6 years of.
Well, I mean, they're the only
updates.
shared world shooters, but they're the ones that everyone's like, "Oh, Warframe's the best," or "Destiny 2's the best."
That's uninformed and uneducated and just completely ignorant video clicks. Is because they're comparing a game that's been out for 4 days to games that have been supported for 6 to 7 years.
That's my point, though. That's
Yeah.
the point that I'm making is
Yeah.
that, like, at launch, Anthem is a better game than all those other games I just mentioned. So if those games had the potential to become amazing, I think The Division is probably the one that stands out to me from that group
Sure.
the most. The Division and maybe Warframe, games
Yeah,
that
Warframe for
completely
sure.
like just changed themselves and
Sure.
adapted to their community and made the changes they need to be amazing. If those games can all be amazing, then I think Anthem can too. But everyone hates Anthem because they hate EA.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to sit around and talk shit. And so what they're doing is making a biased recounting of history,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make BioWare look worse than it was, to support the fact that Anthem was an inevitable destruction of a company that we all hold dear, when that just isn't the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like, going back to my original thesis, if we can give all those other game passes, which I don't think Destiny really got a pass. Destiny 2 didn't get a pass after like 3 or 4 months. But if we can give all those other games passes to be great, then why isn't Anthem getting that pass? It's because it's EA. And
Sure.
so we want to talk about the death and how, you know, the first thing that happened after all the review scores came out on Friday was a bunch of people posting on the subreddit, hey, don't give up on this game. Like,
Yeah.
keep supporting this
Yeah,
game.
there's a lot of people asking BioWare not to give up on this game.
And BioWare
Responded.
employees came and responded, and they even went on Twitter and responded. How fucking ridiculous is that? Not even 24 hours into your launch, you have to reassure your community that you're going to support a game that you said that's the whole point, is a live service game.
Yeah.
It's just fucking ridiculous.
But I mean, like, so we don't have any numbers yet for Anthem, right? As far as like,
Somebody reported on numbers in the UK, but they can't be accurate because they're not taking into account digital orders.
I think this could just be also people who really enjoy Anthem reacting to this internet backlash that isn't as extreme as we think it is. Does that make sense? Like,
No,
I think once we get numbers, I don't think that Anthem is going to be as hurting as bad as the negative internet opinion wants it to.
I think the negative internet opinion has affected it more than you think it has.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really do, because guys like Skill Up and guys who those YouTubers that have that huge following because of the looter shooter genre, like Skill Up, Marco Style, most of the Destiny guys, Gathalion, T-Rex, the Say No to Rage dude, all these guys. Well, if you watch T-Rex's review, you know who T-Rex is? He's a Destiny streamer.
You and I were watching him talk about how he was editing his review. His
review is the most unbiased review that I think I've ever seen in Anthem. And I had to apply. It's applauding because you have, like you said, every review that's come out for Anthem has been so biased one way or the other.
The only one that I've watched that I was like, this is really fair, I agree with this, was IGN's.
Sure. Yeah.
I thought IGN's was great.
But IGN's paid professionally to be unbiased and give, this is what's good, this is what's bad. I'm not going to tell you if you should buy it or not. That's how a review should go.
Yeah.
But we watched Skill Up's 40-minute review on Wednesday, and that dude, that literally was not a review. It was I'm going to bend Anthem over backwards and just beat the shit out of it.
Well, it was really just like, there was like portions of that video where Chris and I are like, wow, that's rough, because he's like personally attacking BioWare.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is not a review.
Well, I think that's the problem that we're running into now, is that like if an actual news organization is posting slander or just false information, like they can get in trouble for that.
Well, which they wouldn't.
Right, but they could get in trouble for that. But now in this day and age, YouTubers and people who have arguably more influence than an actual news organization.
They do have more influence than IGN or Kotaku or any of them.
Right, or even like not even necessarily just in video games. Let's say within like Wall Street Journal or something, or like people will get in trouble for just posting blatant false information.
Yeah, unless it's an opinionated piece.
Right.
Sure.
But they can't publish it as news.
Right.
Whereas like these people who have all this influence, there's no repercussions for what they're doing.
Well, they do have influence, but there's no repercussions because they're not being paid to write reviews.
Well, they're not being paid to write reviews, and also there's nothing against them saying whatever they want.
Right.
Well, yeah. I think that's a problem that Chris and I landed on, because we went through like a string of watching these videos, and we watched 2 or 3 different reviews or impressions on Wednesday of the game before it came out. It was really like, honestly, we should start our own reaction channel where we just watch reviews of shit.
Seriously.
And it's just us reacting to it, because we had some really good conversations. But it's mostly like,
it's not a bad idea.
It's sort of, I think the thing that hit me during that time is it's sort of like giving a 4-year-old the keys to a semi-truck. It's like, just because you have the power to like review something
doesn't mean you should.
And doesn't mean like T-Rex said it, and I'm glad his video turned out great. I'll give it a shot.
Great, yeah.
But he said it. He's like, I think I have good opinions, and I was like, that is every YouTuber. That is every YouTuber. They all think they have good opinions, and they think that the fact that they can share it means that they should.
Yeah.
And then you end up with Skill Up's video, which is just like I don't know. You can hate a game. That's fine. It's not like I get that there are people that don't like Anthem. You are more than welcome to not like Anthem. But there are 2 issues here. There's the issue that this game is in a better state than most looter shooters when they came out. That is just, I don't believe that is bias. I believe that is just fact. I think it is a better game than most of these other games. And then there's the issue, which is a really, really real issue, of looter shooters and live service games coming out and not being complete products. Which is what I liked about IGN's review. IGN is like, it is in a better state than all these other things, but at this point we've had enough of this happen that BioWare should have known better than to launch a game in this state.
Sure.
And I think that is totally fair. That's different than saying like, oh, I hate it. But let's have that conversation, but let's all also acknowledge, as 3 people in this room that bought the game within launch weekend, like, we are contributing and encouraging a culture of releasing a game that's not complete.
And the problem is I'm not going to change. I was going to say I can speak for myself, and maybe Trey, maybe not Justin, but when Division launches in a week and 2 weeks, I'm buying it day one. When Anthem 2 comes out and it comes out in the most unfinished state possible, I'm buying it day one. I'm not going to be the biggest thing I've seen is YouTubers and Twitch streamers saying, I'm fatigued with the looter shooter coming out before it's done. And it's like, sure, I understand that, but that's, you've made that your job. You've chose to make that your job.
You've chose to play this 100 hours.
Right. You have chose to be part of the 1 to 10% that have made that their job. That doesn't mean that you get to determine where this game goes. The other 90% of people playing this game, that's who gets to determine where this game goes. Unfortunately, the other 90% don't have the influence that YouTubers do. So as the 90% gets to say that. But all that to say, too, is that the 10% still has the highest influence. And the 10%, Destiny 2 is a perfect example of this. The 10% get to tell.
Game curated for the 10%.
Exactly. They exactly. That's exactly my point. And it's, I hope that BioWare looks at the 10%, because the 10% right now are saying this game sucks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And their 90% are on Twitter and the forums and Reddit going, please don't let this game die because it's awesome.
Well, we had a moment last week after we had sort of been watching everyone's stuff. We jumped into BioWare's stream for a little bit and watched them. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that happened in that whole conversation was they were talking about, I'm going to mess up the wording, but they were basically talking about laws in different countries which restrict how far
they can talk about
stuff that they're working on.
Okay.
And the idea is basically, and Chris and I were sitting there, and Chris started asking about it, and I was like, that explains why developers don't tell you what they're working on past that 90 days. Because if they say that we're doing this thing and it's going to launch at this time, they could potentially be sued for not following through in those plans when plans shift and change all the time.
It's crazy.
And but it explains so much about the video game industry. It's not just about Anthem or BioWare. It was this moment where this nerdy marketing guy is just going on about how excited he is about trade laws in different countries, and they revealed like a really telling thing that in 4 years of covering video games as amateurs, and also 25 years of following video games, probably more like 20 years of following video games, no one has ever been that transparent about anything. And I wasn't even aware that was a thing.
We say it all the time. It's like, we're tired of developers being so secretive about their games. Just tell us. It's not going to make a difference to us. Just tell us. Well, they can't. Why. Yeah, they can't.
And the whole point to that anecdote being that, like, that's how BioWare is conducting themselves as stewards of this game. They're going on subreddits and they're saying, like, hey, like, we didn't intend for this loot bug to happen. We're looking for feedback and we're looking for things to do on our end. But, our number one goal is transparency. When we make a change, we're not going to be doing anything under the hood without telling you why. And so it's created this thing where, like, I'm talking about this loot bug. They adjusted some loot drop rate in crates, and it ended up having like an adverse effect on loot drops as a whole. And so the community was upset about it. And so now the biggest thing, not upset, but they were just like, hey, like, what's going on?
It kind of sucks because they had a loot drop rate. They adjusted something that in a live service game, everything's so intertwined in code that whatever they adjusted actually raised the drop rates. So for 11 hours, people were getting Masterworks and they were being poured in Masterworks. And when they caught the facts like, whoa, there's way more Masterworks dropping than there should be. They put it back to the way it was before. Well, that 11 hours gave everybody it's like the Diablo 2.0 loot thing. It's like when Diablo 3 launched, loot was so scarce that it's like, why am I even playing this game?
Right.
And in that 11 hours, those people that were playing Anthem in those 11 hours, they were like, this is perfect.
Well,
loot right now is perfect because of inscriptions, right? Different things roll with 4 different stats that can very, very much affect your build. And so we should be showered with these things. And that 11 hours they were, but now they reverted back, and like Masterworks seem very scarce again.
Well, it's a lot of what I'm seeing online is people wanting.
Well, but hold on,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Let me finish my point real fast. My whole point being that, like, with the way that BioWare has been communicating and listening to the people talking about their stuff, I can very much see them making the decision to go back to having the game framed like that 11 hours when drops were really good, because it just seems like they care about that feedback. That was my point. He just explained it better than I did.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to basically echo that and just say that most of the feedback from that 11-hour bug is that people really enjoyed it, and that they feel like
it's because it makes more sense.
It makes sense to be showered with quote unquote like cool loot,
and
you're just basically min-maxing, trying to get the best equipment.
But that's what Anthem is,
right?
But
the idea of an end game being like, oh well, I should have more things to do. That's not this in-game. It's the same with Diablo's in-game. You don't have a shit ton of stuff to do in Diablo. You just don't. Mm-hmm. Now you do, but at launch you just didn't. Mm-hmm. You went and you ran the same missions over and over and over again because loot drops with random inscriptions and you try to min-max. Mm-hmm. That's Anthem in-game.
Well, and one of the problems with Anthem 2, which is something that should be fixed, but right now with the way that inscriptions work, you could get an assault rifle that drops with a 15% pistol damage.
I would imagine, so correct me if I'm wrong, that's just adding it to your offhand gun.
No,
that's not.
It's the gun that you have
There's
out.
two different inscription models that you can get. There's one with a gear on it, and the gear applies strictly to the piece of gear that it drops to. And then there's another inscription that shows a body, and that applies to your javelin as a whole. So if you get something that with a body that says assault rifle plus 15% damage, you have an overall 15% damage increase to assault rifle. So if you do have an assault rifle equipped, you get that buff. However, the pistol and assault rifle damage usually drops with the gear, so it is strictly to that piece of gear. So you can get a Ranger sticky grenade that drops with plus 15% assault rifle damage, but it applies to that piece of gear, which is a sticky grenade. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What?
You throw a sticky grenade and then it turns into an assault rifle.
As in the air. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's,
that's weird.
On one hand, it's like, the way that I sort of land on that argument is if we go back to the 11-hour loop period, right? I'm totally fine with getting dumb drops like that because I'm getting drops all the time. It doesn't matter what those drops are.
Yep.
But if we're going to go to a time in Anthem where getting Masterworks is really hard or they just don't drop
inscriptions
frequently.
better drop per.
I'll tell you what, if it takes me a while to get my first Masterwork and I get a drop that is a plus 15% pistol mod on like a shotgun, I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it's one of the biggest problems with Destiny, right? It's one of the reasons why I stopped playing Destiny. Because you get an exotic drop every like 6 hours.
Sure.
And
most of the time it's going to be shitty rolls.
Or you get an exotic drop of something that you already have and have had a billion of and don't need.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there are 15 new exotics that you can't get.
Yep.
I think out of the Forsaken exotics, I got the Wave Splitter.
Oh yeah.
That was the only Forsaken.
I never got the the Arms of Galanor, Blades of Galanor, whatever it's called for the Blade Barrage Hunter.
Yeah.
Never got them.
No, never got them either, and I fucking love Blade Barrage.
So I want to get into like impressions of the game before we move forward. However, I was going to say one thing and I totally forgot what it was. So let's move on. Hey, what do you think?
Cool.
As a person who's only played maybe 30 minutes of this game, Justin,
That's not true.
what do you think?
I'm really enjoying it. Something that it not necessarily mechanic wise or anything. Something that's really stuck out to me that I've really liked, and maybe it's because I'm coming from Kingdom Hearts 3, but I've really enjoyed the voice acting in this.
Oh, it's like man,
the storytelling in it a lot.
The confusion was like, what?
I was waiting
how the
to see
fuck?
what it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like I don't know if it's like I've been mind altered to think that all voice acting's bad.
Yeah, sure.
Because of Kingdom
There's
Hearts 3.
30 hours of Kingdom Hearts.
But even going into this and like making the comparison to some of the voice acting in, let's say, like Destiny, for example, this has so much more life in it. The characters all feel kind of different and they have their own personality. It's really enjoyable. You know, I actually enjoy getting to go to the fort and talk to every single person.
Sure.
And it's actually interesting to hear what they have to say. Gameplay wise, I'm really enjoying it. Like you guys said, we played it together on Sunday for
night, something like that.
A couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, whenever Trey left, I think you and I played for a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And then I got off. I think Sunday night, or it might have been yesterday, I got on and played a little bit by myself, which wasn't as fun.
You were still playing after I came home and played for a bit, and as I was logging off, it was like 1:30. You were still on.
I did stay up for quite a while.
Yeah,
I was working really hard on making the Iron Patriot suit like I'd wanted to, and it's coming it's coming along.
Very good.
I bought some. Like it just so happened I had the kind of the blue and the white and some of the silver and stuff, and I was looking at the different bodies. And the relic body, and I want to say the relic arms, actually look really similar to Iron Patriot stuff too.
There you go.
So I went ahead and used some coins to buy those.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's been really fun. What about you guys?
I'll go last because I finished it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've put in a lot of time this weekend, and I'm having a really good time. I think the gameplay loop is impeccable. I actually think it's probably better than Destiny's.
Mm-hmm.
There is a part of me that already knows that like there are things that could get old about that gameplay loop. But I feel like with the way that they handle your focus seals and whatever the other ones are called, you can change up your kit enough to where you don't have to go in every time and play the same way. Like it makes a huge difference as someone who's mostly been playing Ranger. Like it makes a huge difference if my grenade is a primer or a detonator, or whether or not my rocket is a
or whether or
primer
not
or detonator.
you're using the rocket or you like the new the laser.
I
like
love the laser.
Yeah.
It's not a primer or a detonator,
Yeah.
but it's my favorite thing in that game. It's
Yeah.
it's literally like the Iron Man 2 like wrist
like the
razor, laser where they like spin in the circle and
Spark
shoot the laser.
beam.
Yeah, spark beam.
There you
That's
go.
cool. I love it. It's awesome. I will say that I can't remember where I saw this criticism from, but someone had said this, and I really like it. Kind of hit me in the gut a little bit. I really agreed with it. I think the biggest problem with Anthem is that it's almost like it's two different games. And BioWare didn't fully commit to one side of the game or the other. On one hand, it has a narrative and it has really strong characters. And I think that sometimes it really excels, but sometimes it's just kind of there. And I think one of the biggest problems with that narrative thing is that when you're playing in a group, I think it does get in the way of playing the game. But it also has this really, really good gameplay loop where you're doing the same objectives a lot. And it's, very much defend this point or collect these things and drop them off to progress to the next thing. But the other problem with that gameplay loop is that it's so short that you'll be waiting in Fort Tarsis for 15 minutes for someone to get something together, go through a mission that takes 10 minutes long, and then waiting another 15 minutes before you can go and do another contract or whatever. And all that is well and fine when you're playing by yourself, but this game is really, it doesn't lie when it tells you this game is better when you play with other people, even if it's playing with random sometimes. But I do think that like BioWare couldn't decide what kind of game they wanted over the other. And so I think you have a sort of jack of all trades where it's like both of these things are good, but neither one of them is super amazing because it seems like they didn't want to step on the other one's toes all that much.
Sure.
And I think that is something that is going to change in the end game because it's not like they're going to be adding 40 hours of voice dialogue every time they add a new mission. They just can't. I mean, we saw that with Destiny, right? How many characters had the same voice lines for 2 years because they couldn't get Nathan Fillion in the studio to record,
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's a really good game, and I think with time it's going to be awesome. And if I get 40 hours out of it, 50 hours out of it, and I'm waiting until the next big update to play it again, I'm fine with that because to me it's worth the time that I put in so far. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Division 2 is going to give it a run for its money because Division 2 by all accounts is just looking incredible.
Sure.
But yeah,
well, that's because massive.
It's a sequel to a game where they learned.
Sure, and they took what they learned and put it into the game, unlike Bungie, who just reset Destiny 1 and put a 2 behind it, right? That's basically all Destiny 2 was.
Yeah.
They made the same mistakes they did in Destiny 1, and just from the demo of Division 2, I think they've learned. There's a few things that are like, I don't know why they did that, but I understand. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I beat Anthem today. I without having a timer, I have no idea how much time I put into that. I would say anywhere from 25 to 35 hours. You think that would be safe to say?
I mean, just from an outside looking in perspective, I would say more.
Okay, since
I feel
Friday,
like I feel like you put in a lot of time. From
sure.
Friday
Well,
to
Friday
Monday.
for sure. Daniel and I put in almost 8 hours on Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday, I'd say I put in 6. Sunday, probably 5. So what am I at there?
You're at 19.
Monday, I think I took Monday off. I did take Monday off. So let's say 6 hours on Monday.
So yeah, that'd be about 25.
And then today, I had to wait fucking 4 hours for a video to render. So I had another 4 hours.
Okay, so about
30.
30 hours.
Okay, so about 30 hours in, I just finished the story. Level 28. Yeah. I don't understand the hate for I can finish this game in 4 hours and I finished at level 15. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, I don't want to be here and like the last 2 or 3 podcasts I sounded like the Anthem shill, I'm sure. And I probably still will be because I fucking love this game. This game is I still stand by the fact that I think this is the best 4-player or best multiplayer co-op shooter I've ever played in my entire life. Just because, and it's not even a shooter. Let's just say action RPG with guns. It's the best 4-player action game I've ever played in my entire life because the idea that just playing with the four of us on Sunday, there were multiple times where it's just like, after playing with each other, there was a synergy happening, right? There was one point in time I was playing an Interceptor and you were playing a Storm.
Yep.
And you would just follow me. You would follow me and you'd see where I'd go. You'd prime, I'd detonate, we'd go to the next thing, and it was great. Same thing happened when I was started playing Storm and you were playing Interceptor or Ranger.
Yeah.
I would try to follow you, prime what I could, let you detonate and do your thing, and I'd clean up afterwards and we moved to the next group.
Yeah.
Or there was a part where we had Daniel playing a Colossus and we did a fucking like Avengers move where I'm up in the air, Daniel puts up a shield and like chunk an energy ball at, like toward Daniel, and it bounces off of his shield and kills an enemy, and it's like, oh my god, that was the coolest fucking thing in the world.
Yeah.
And moments like that make this game great because it's fun by myself. I love playing this game by myself personally, but playing with you guys made this game so much fucking fun. Now I will stick with this game for a long time, going back and forth, I'm sure, between Division and Anthem. Daniel knows for sure I'm never going back to Destiny unless they make a major change.
Yeah.
So, this game and Division are going to be my two games, so I'll be a shill about it. However, this game needs a lot of fucking work.
It does.
Like, a ton of work. There was points Sunday night where it's like, I was getting pissed. It's like, I don't even know what the fuck is shooting me.
Yep.
What is even fucking hitting me right now?
We had a lot of those moments yesterday where you and I both were getting really mad.
It was annoying, man. Like,
'cause it's
what
like,
the fuck is even hitting me?
There'll be these moments where it's like you're almost getting like one-shotted.
Yeah.
And you don't know where it's coming from.
Have no clue. And there's no snipers around. Most of the time you think, oh, the snipers are one-shotting me. There's no snipers around us. So what could possibly be hitting me to one-shot me down to 1 health? Now, thank God for the 1 health mechanic they have, which is really nice because I think they knew some enemies are going to be able to pump out enough damage to kill you outright.
Well, but the thing about that is, like, as a Storm, that mechanic is awesome.
Sure.
Because if you're playing a Storm correctly, at least with, early build, as far as I know from early builds, you're not in the thick of things.
No, you're not.
But that mechanic is actually really frustrating if you're playing an Interceptor, Ranger,
Sure.
or I would assume a Colossus, because you're not hovering 30 feet away from the battle.
Sure.
You're right in the thick of things. So that thing happens, and you're immediately trying to find health, and it's like this crazy thing, and you're being pulled from the fight, but you also don't know what the threat is.
Yeah.
So you can't go and address the threat and like try to stop it. You just have to like try to figure out where it's coming from.
Player feedback needs to be addressed in this game because there's even sound cues. Wearing wearing headphones with like 7.1 Dolby Digital, you can't tell where you're being shot from. There's no sound cues. There's no actual player feedback. Even vibration in a controller doesn't help at all. The indicators of where the shots are coming from doesn't help because it's always you're getting shot from everywhere.
It's too general.
Yeah, there's enemies everywhere, which that's not a problem. The amount of enemies that show up in some of these events is not a problem whatsoever.
It's perfect, especially with how 4 people play together. It works really well.
It works insanely well.
The problem with the enemies is just hit scan. Yeah. It's just that like you can't dodge out of a lot of attacks.
And that was another thing is the hit scan for the Titans number 1. Man, some of those the hit boxes or the hit scans for some of those fireballs, it's like, yeah, I totally dodged that. And you can sit there and you can kind of like, I saw a logic post or I saw a defending post on Reddit of people like, well, if you pay attention like that, if you're standing there and the ball kind of appears and you have to dodge out of the way of it, not the fireball that comes at you, but that ball, if you don't dodge in time, you don't take damage, but you get set on fire.
Yeah.
And so like that sort of makes sense. If I don't dodge out of that heat fast enough, I get set on fire. I don't take damage, but I get set on fire. Makes sense. But the fucking fireball that comes from the Titan and tracks you have to dodge when it's like 30 feet away from you. And it's like, what?
I just have to say, and I to me, this seems like a controversial opinion because I haven't heard anyone else really say this. Like, Titan fights are the epitome of the things that aren't fun about that game.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I hate Titan fights. Anytime we're in them, I just get frustrated.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be like the boss of the world. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree. They need to work on Titan fights big time. They really need to address loots right now because I'm at level 28 and I've only got 2 masterworks. And out of 40 hours of play, I read a post that a guy had put in 100 hours and never got a legendary. So like,
legendary is after masterwork, right?
Sure, but a guy who
I'm trying to clear it up because everyone keeps saying legendary, and I'm always thinking purple.
No, legendaries after masterwork. Yeah, it's legendaries or exotics.
Okay.
There's a guy who played like 100 hours and still hasn't gotten a legendary to drop it all, loot needs to be addressed. Loot needs to be Division and Diablo loot. Like it has to be. If you're going to have this inscription system, you should be showering us in loot. And then adjust the legendaries to where they drop very infrequently, but when they do, they drop with inscriptions that are beneficial to that weapon.
Yeah.
Not totally, but to an extent. Anyway, loot needs to be addressed. Player feedback. I have a list of things that I think need to be addressed.
Something that I think could be addressed, and maybe this might be a quality of life thing. I'm not really sure, but I would really like to be able to change my equipment while I'm on a mission or while I'm going.
I don't agree with that in any way, shape, or form. Would you like to know why?
Sure.
The amount of time you spend in the Forge after a mission, going through all your things, looking at the stat bumps, looking at the percentage bumps, looking at everything, you would rather have somebody do that in the field than on their own at the Forge.
So what I was going to say to basically to counterpoint that is, I feel like the whole system of having default loadouts or having multiple loadouts would fix that.
You can have multiple loadouts.
But I'm saying...
But you can't switch them on the fly.
You can't switch them on the fly.
In the field, just switch your loadouts. You can't edit your loadouts
I
or
understand.
anything.
You don't want to look at your loot. You just want to edit loadouts on the field.
I don't even want to edit loadouts.
See,
I want to be able to switch between loadouts.
Again, counterpoint to that.
Counterpoint to the counterpoint.
Yeah, counterpoint to the counterpoint. That would make strongholds and high-level content kind of null and void if everybody can just switch per encounter.
The only thing I think that as far as like suit gear goes, it's totally fair to not be able to switch that out in a thing.
I agree.
Weapons, if you jump into a mission and you're trying out a new weapon and it absolutely sucks, it is torture.
Sure,
I jumped into a stronghold with an awful gun, and it was torture playing through that stronghold because I had to jump out. I would just like the ability to switch my guns. I like that's all I want.
Sure, maybe.
Like I would like guns to operate like loot in Destiny, where it's just I pull it up real fast and I can swap it out.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's the worst when you jump into a fight and you don't have the right gun for whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, maybe. I just don't. I fall on the side of with so many different stat bumps in every single slot. Even guns. It's like, oh, there's a new gun, but does it better than it? People can spend. I spend 15, 20 minutes in the Forge sometimes after a free play run, just because I'm looking at all the different things that we got. Like,
the min-maxing.
I would hate for somebody to be doing that in the middle of a stronghold.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, where the fuck is XX69 mom boner 16? Where the hell is he? He's always looking at his loot.
And that's why
that's
why it just seems like, why have preset loadouts, or like, if you're not going to let people switch that on the fly? Why do I have to go back to the Forge to switch loadouts, and then I have to go and do a new mission?
That's where the idea of communication comes in. It's like, hey, I'm running this, you run this. It's like, right, I'll
have like one a lot of
like
I
have a loadout for my storm that is nothing but priming. For that very reason, to when I play with you guys, I know you guys are going to run mostly detonators, so there's literally no reason in the world for me to run a det. So that means I have two abilities that can prime and control the entire field. And that's a matter of communication before going into high level content, saying, I have this, you guys have this, and we're ready to go. Right now, again, that's where my issue with matchmaking comes in. You don't get to do that when you're matchmaking with people. You don't get to talk to people until you're in the activity with somebody. So there's no communication there. There's no like, hey, I'm running this det or this primer. What are you running? Let's mix and match. Let's figure out what the best thing to go. Okay, here we are. We can go now. Matchmaking can be just fucking horrendous. We saw a video of a guy who's level 3 who did a quick play session who got matchmade into the last level of the game.
Yeah.
Level 3 got matchmade into the very last level of the game.
Yeah.
And the streamer's like, you need to leave. We're in the last level. Get the fuck out. Not that I don't like you, but this is spoilers. Like, we are in the last level of the game. And like, that's matchmaking in Anthem is like, holy shit, guys, you didn't think about that? The menu system is fucking atrocious. Jesus Christ, guys. You come from Mass Effect with the wheel and Dragon Age with the wheel, and you come up with this fucking like weird Xbox 360 Blade menu system.
Tabs among
shit.
tabs.
Also, it's the most unresponsive menu system in the world. I will scroll down, kind of like it's muscle memory. You scroll down fast, and all of a sudden you're passing where you wanted to go. It's like, whoa.
They also have 2 different menus.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
have the touchpad menu
Yeah.
and the start menu.
And the start menu.
And I never know which one I'm supposed to go
Yep.
into. It doesn't matter how
Yep.
many times I've opened up the menu to look at my challenges. I always pick the wrong one
Yeah,
first.
same. I was gonna say never
It's just-
fails. It's not the one I picked.
The social thing. I always pick
Oh
the wrong
god, the
thing first.
social! Oh my god, that social thing is ridiculous. And granted, we're on PlayStation. We don't have the luxury of Xbox. Like I know Xbox matchmaking, especially in sending invites, is like flawless. In PlayStation, it literally has to pull you out of the game to actually invite your friends to these sessions, and I fucking hate it. But that's PlayStation.
Pulls up the little message thing.
I don't think BioWare can do anything about that. I think that's PlayStation infrastructure.
Yeah, that's another thing is that you can't just join on someone.
Yeah, you can't. You cannot. It's like, hey, just join on me. Nope, got to send everybody an invite.
Yeah.
Why? Why the fuck can't I just join on Trey?
So this
and
is
you
something,
can't send an invite if you're in a party too,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
This is something that happened to both of us.
You
because
also can't just leave a party.
with both of us playing with the group, it's like, oh, we're just trying to get this person caught up. So I'll be in the middle of a conversation. Chris and I will be together playing. And Chris is like, oh, Green's on. You got to invite Green. Okay. Well, I got to stop the conversation. I have to walk all the way from one side of Fort Tarsis to my suit,
Yep.
jump in my suit, invite him to
Then-
the group,
yep,
jump out of my suit,
yep.
then go back to what I was doing.
Now to
Just to
Bio-
get the next mission.
Now to
Yeah.
BioWare's credit, when you are in a group, it's just a matter of holding triangle to get straight to the expedition screen.
The ready system is also great.
Fucking great, man. When you're actually finally in a group, it's pretty intuitive, it's quick, it's snappy. Here we go. But my God, actually just getting into a group with your friends is just a giant fucking chore. I don't know what point I'm on. The map in free play is great. I love exploring the map. It's huge. It's diverse. There's always something new to see. But my God in heaven, if people don't know north, south, east, and west, looking at Trey, no offense.
No, I'm doing okay.
You are doing fine.
I'm doing okay.
But
My
Jesus
biggest
fucking
issue
Christ.
is that, like, sometimes we were talking about this yesterday. Sometimes you will see an area in free play and you'll be like, I can't traverse that.
Yeah.
And so you try to find a way around it, and then eventually you try it and you can get over it.
Sure.
But then you see the exact same like looking scenario. And it's like, I can definitely traverse that, and you go up, and your thing
he's saying
crashes down.
saying this really.
You fly into a storm.
He's saying this weird. Yeah, basically there are points where you can go over a mountain and other points where you cannot go over the
Right.
mountain.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
get
just
it.
fucking weird.
But it's like, it's not clear sometimes, so I get
It's
confused
not clear
thinking
whatsoever.
I have to go around, and
now,
it's like, no, I just need to go
now,
over.
but the not having being able to place waypoints in maps is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking ridiculous. You don't need to give me a Grand Theft Auto like follow the track thing.
Right, like
but
a,
at
nice
least
if you
a dotted line.
at least
through
let me
everything.
open the map and place a waypoint somewhere so I know the general direction I always should be going.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everybody is looking at their compass going, okay, we need to go northwest. Always head northwest and we'll make it where we're going.
Right.
Most people don't pay attention to that. So the next thing you know, you're fucking southeast and you're like, whoa, how the fuck did I get over here? The world events not showing up all over the map is just... It's dumb.
Yeah.
It's a huge
It's
oversight.
Huh?
It's a huge
oversight. It's fine. I love the idea of exploring the world and stumbling upon it. I think it's really fucking great. However, if you're playing solo in a free play and you stumble upon a world event, you're stuck doing it by yourself unless somebody's around you. Because other people are in another part of the map and they don't get a notification that there's a freelancer in a world event. Something like that. If somebody activates a world event in a free play session, like a radio transmission should go out to all the other 3 people going, so-and-so freelancers activated a world event here, and it pops up on their mini map or their compass. It's just, some of these things are just like, and again, granted, this is BioWare's first shot at a giant open world shared shooter. But man.
But stuff like that seems like very simple oversights.
It almost
Coming from people who've played looter shooters for the last 6 years.
It almost feels like they were afraid of being too alike other games.
I think
Because
it's
certain decisions that they make, it's like,
they were afraid to not be immersive.
Well,
because they're BioWare and they know, and this is the problem of a lot of reviews going into Anthem going, they wanted Mass Effect. They didn't get Mass Effect. That's your own fucking fault for expecting to get a Mass Effect style game. But that's also on BioWare. I think they're so concentrated on the immersion aspect of things that they didn't think about the actual quality of life things that break that immersion.
That's possible, but I also think that, like, the other side of it is Anthem was already in a place where it was going to be compared to Division, Destiny, and Warframe.
Sure.
It's actually really funny because Warframe had posted a congratulations thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
So
good
Division,
job.
so did Division.
But the funny thing is about the Warframe one is that they basically photoshopped an image where there's a Warframe and a javelin together.
Yeah.
And as someone who hadn't seen all the different things with the javelins for a second, I was like, why did they just post a picture of two javelins? You know, like it took me a second to be like, oh no, that's a frame. But it seems like there are certain decisions that they made to be different. But it's like,
sure,
that
possibly.
was a really bad place to pick being different on. I get you not wanting to do the thing that Destiny does where you see it on the map all the time and, you know, whatever. I guess like that seems like a very Destiny thing. But, you know, the one way you could beat Destiny is if you do waypoints. Making a waypoint system in your game is so revolutionary for most shared world games
Sure,
that, like, they really could have been ahead of the curve if they've just added that in. And at times it's like, other games do this really well. Why didn't you think about that? And it's like, I get it. You don't want to be compared too closely, but, like, sorry, this is the world we live in.
And not only that, you're in a mission and a radar pops up and shows you where everything is.
Let me just
It's already
say,
there.
Yeah, it is already there.
my least favorite thing from Mass Effect Andromeda was that fucking radar. Out of all the things that I expected them to carry over from Mass Effect Andromeda, I did not expect that radar to return.
There's no radar in Anthem.
that little in what?
There's no radar in Anthem.
Yes, there is. There's that little bumping radar that tells you when you're close to a mission critical item.
It
Where
shows
it's like,
you exactly where
Oh,
to go.
okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
You know
little,
how to,
like, sonar
you know how to
looking
fix
radar
that? Add 4 more segments. It's only like top, bottom, left, and right. If you add 4 more segments, that radar's not a problem whatsoever.
I think
That's true, yeah.
It's just not.
You know how I think you fix it? I think you God, what is the game? I played a. I think you add a fucking Red Dead Redemption, hit the thing, and you do like that wildlife thing where you can see.
Oh, like
and
a
stuff.
pulse. Sure.
Yeah.
I'm in a fucking space age javelin suit. I
Yeah.
should be able to send a sonar pulse out
yeah.
and show me where shit's at.
Let me do detective mode
Sure,
in my
yeah.
javelin. Like,
no, not detective mode. Just a. Poof.
well, but like it's a similar
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
just instead of having a radar,
Sure.
let me hit the thing, and then let me see like important items that are
Sure.
in the world.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, so you have a radar and mission that tells you basically exactly where
You guys
things
are talking about two separate radars.
I don't think we are.
No.
You're talking about waypoints.
I'm not talking about waypoints.
No, we're
I'm
talking
talking about the little
green
green
radar,
thing?
yeah.
I'm talking about the
Oh,
little
okay.
green radar.
Okay.
So I'm saying if you can have that, how come in free play you can't see like where things are?
Well-
Why can't I drop a waypoint, or why can't I mark something on the map, or why can't I see where this world map
but
is?
you're comparing that the radar wouldn't be used for that.
I'm not
If you-
saying it would be useful.
you
I'm
drop
saying
a-
that
if you
there's
drop a-
something in the game already.
But if you drop
it's
a-
not like they want you to go out and find everything.
But if you drop a waypoint, then the little blue dot just shows up. That's what they need.
no, I know that. I'm
Yeah,
saying
you don't need the radar to
No,
do waypoints.
he's not saying use the radar for this thing. He's
I'm saying
like,
that there's a system in the game already that like they're not so against radars and showing you where things are that they want you to go out and explore the
I
world.
understand now.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
Got
like
it.
we've made this joke multiple times while playing where they're like, go find all this shit. And then a radar pops up and it's like, well, if you're just going to tell me where it's
Got
at,
it.
tell me where
I
it's
understand.
at.
Right.
Like-
But like a world event, like where people need my help, God no, let me fly across the
understand.
entire world
I
to
understand.
find this.
And also, I agree with the criticism that there are not enough varied activities in this game.
No, there's definitely not.
The 30-second loop is way better than any looter shooter I've ever played. So it very much circumvents that. But it really is grab the glowing orb, bring it back to the spiky thing, find the glowy thing on the ground, bring it back to the spiky thing. There's also... what else is there?
Defend this point.
There's defend the
which
point.
honestly is
just fun.
Well, it's the stand in the circle and hold this point until
Yeah.
things happen. I have to say, as someone who's basically been playing Ranger because you can't play an interceptor because everyone plays an interceptor and it's not fun to die.
That's
all the
not
time.
true.
I see more interceptors than I see anything else.
Oh,
in that
that's
game.
interesting. I figured Storm would be like the... But you're right. Now that I think about it,
Yeah,
man, I get match made with a shit ton of interceptors, and they don't know what they're doing.
I see interceptors,
worst.
and
Sit
then
back with guns.
Yeah.
in second and third, I see Colossus and Storms, and then I occasionally
Rangers
see
are the
Rangers.
last, sure.
But as the Ranger player in a lot of these like match-made groups, that mission structure is the worst because I basically have to stay at a point because interceptors and Colossus have to be in the thick of things and their Storm has to be there to be able to set things up.
That's
so I
not
basically
true.
have to sit there and shoot from the side.
If they're playing the Storm wrong, sure. But you saw when we were doing that mission where they're all swarming up those steps, I stood at the point the entire
See,
time.
but that mission's unique because it's a vertical space.
Yeah, that's true.
Most
That's
of the
very
time
true.
when you have those defend the points, it's horizontal.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
And that was very bottlenecky too. Like
Yeah.
you
That's
very
knew
true.
they were coming.
That did prove like this game needs a horde mode, and it would be a shit ton of
Yes.
fun. So yeah, there need to be way more varied activities. And last, and certainly least, without going into spoilers, the story ends way too fast. Just way too fast for a Bioware. Like this is where I like fall on that side of like it is a Bioware game, and the story's fucking cool. Like the story's awesome. I think it is. I personally think it is.
I think it's great.
I get
I
very.
think they do more world building in 2
Sure,
minutes
yeah.
than Destiny did in 3
and
years.
and that's the biggest thing. Like they have the grimoire, and
they basically took the codex. From
yeah.
Mass
Well,
Effect
what I'm trying to say is
adapted it.
where the Destiny grimoire is so thick and girthy. I don't know, that's a good word for it. There's so much shit in a Destiny grimoire that you think to yourselves like, there's probably no way they can put this into a game because there's so much shit. Anthem does the same thing. Their codex or their what do they call it? It's not a codex.
Cortex.
It's Cortex. Their Cortex is just as girthy as Destiny's grimoire. There's so much shit to read, and it's all in the game.
That's why I brought up the
Which
codex
is so fucking great.
Because that's why I brought up the codex thing, though, because Bioware basically invented the codex.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's been in their games at least since KOTOR.
And so,
So the fact that they were able to replicate that in such a great way in Anthem,
Sure.
it's good they took their own advice.
Yeah. And so you have this amazing world that BioWare's built. But man, like that story, it's one of those things that's like it revs up and it ends. And that's okay because I know there's more coming. We already see we're going to talk about the 90-day roadmap already if we get to it because we're talking a long ass time. I know there's more coming, and I know I'm looking forward to it. But man, like it was a little disappointing today when I finished it because I was like, shit, man, that ended super fast, and it ended so abruptly that I was like, huh. Man, it didn't suck. I enjoyed the shit out of it, and it was super fucking cool, and it was super badass, and I'm so ready for the next thing to happen. But man, that was fast.
No, I mean, but
that bothered. And then the after credit cutscene happens, and then I'm like, all right, I'm back in, totally back in.
But I had that moment yesterday where you sort of get to the classic BioWare twist in their
Sure,
story.
yeah.
And it involved this character where 1 second this person doesn't want to talk to me, next second they're like super friendly and like, oh, we're best buddies and all that. Second after that, just a complete change. And all three of those things didn't really line up to that one thing, and I was like, this feels like I get the motivation, I get where this is coming from.
Yeah, I was gonna say I semi disagree because I think they set up that fairly well.
But the jump between this and this is very short.
Sure.
It makes sense when it happens. You're like, oh, of course, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it goes. There are 3 different mood swings that happen over the course of 10 minutes, and you're like, oh man, I like if you guys had a little bit more time to stretch this out.
If you're going from story to story to story to story, but if you're, I'm not saying nobody's playing this game wrong.
Well, but that's
from my experience, when that happened over the course of 25 hours.
We'll see, but what happened for me is because of the way that I've been doing contracts,
right.
I had nothing else to do. At that point, I had no other contract.
Sure.
For me, so I got to the mission before that, did that mission, jumped back in, checked for contracts, had no new contracts, so I immediately had to do the next thing.
Yeah, because see, the seeds for that stuff were set up after he took the initial javelin and fucked up that entire mission.
Yeah.
The seeds are set there, and from that point to the twist, I had a good 25 hours of gameplay.
But the thing,
and so it didn't seem like that was a rush.
The thing about that, though, that like going back to classic BioWare storytelling, though, is that like there is a breaking point that happens, and that breaking point makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
In most BioWare games, you would have a really good conversation about that breaking point, where the emotions are consistent between whatever happened and where they are now, right?
Sure.
The problem with that scene, and maybe this is the adjustment they needed to make, and it was just a matter of getting a story together and putting it out, and this wasn't super important to them. If they had fixed the tone of the sections between all this happening, if they'd fixed that tone and let you have an honest conversation with this person, I feel like it would have played off a little bit better.
You do have an honest conversation with that person. Just keep playing. No, just keep playing.
I know, but like it doesn't. I'm just saying that moment that happened, it was very un-BioWare-like.
Sure, but my point being is like I'm not trying to interrupt you. I see you're getting annoyed. What I'm saying is what you're asking for happens, and in future content, it very much seems like what you're asking for is going to be paid off.
That's fine. I just mean that in that moment, that like it doesn't matter what happens afterwards. That moment right there is already going to be something cemented in my mind as like an example of just poor storytelling and something that is not BioWare's usual MO in handling character conflict. Because it just feels weird. There's just an inconsistency between this scene, and this scene. There's like 3 different versions of the same character that you see.
Sure.
That you can understand where it's coming from. It logically makes sense based on the things that happened before.
You can also see the evolution of how he gets to that, how that person gets to the final thing.
Maybe it just didn't have enough room to breathe, in my opinion.
Sure, possibly not, but the evolution's there. Like I think the evolution's there. I think it's very clear the events that lead up to the point of the twist.
Again, I'm not disagreeing that the evolution's not there. I'm just saying that like something needed to have happened. Either they needed to have changed the tone of one scene, or they needed to let it sit just a little bit longer. But the quick turnaround like threw me off. And again, it's there. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying that it was not as elegant as I would expect from BioWare. So,
and there you have it. Anthem.
All right.
It deserves its 6. I think it does. If I was going to put a number on it, I'd say 6 to 7.
I don't know how I don't know how people review live service games anymore, because to me, like, maybe 6 is fair for now.
Right now it is, sure. I'm guarantee it'll change in 6 months.
Well, but that's like that's my point though, is that like 6 is fair for now, but how do you grade a game that's evolving over time?
You just put a number on it.
I don't know. I just don't. I think it all points to that, like, because most reviewers don't do that. Most reviewers don't update their review scores.
Sure, but we're not like, that's the thing. We're not like professional reviewers. Like, I'll update.
That's what I'm talking about. Professional reviewers.
Oh, sure.
Like, I just don't. There's this culture of reviewing these games when it's like all these games are very different a year after launch. So how do you handle that? And I know IGN is not opposed to updating their review scores, but most review sites don't do that. So we could end up in 2 years from now and know that we could end up 2 years from now and just have Anthem be a way better game than any other looter shooter.
Sure,
but it's still gonna have a Metacritic score of like 59.
Yeah, no, I agree. In 2 years, it could be a 9 for all we know. And in 2 years we can revisit and like somebody is like, hey, what would you say it now? It's like, oh, I'd say it's a 9 now, but
could be a 5.
Could be, could get worse. I don't know.
Could be gone.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, as of right now, though, I would say like anywhere between 6 and 7, because I think it's a great game, but like those mechanic things really put a damper on it. If I'm being unbiased and non-opinionated.
Yeah, I think it's worth, if you're listening, I think it's worth giving a try, and then forming your own opinion. Which is also very enjoyable.
Which is also another good thing. Unless you're on PS4, if you're on Xbox or PC, all it costs is $5 to try it. That's it.
Yep.
Which is kind of badass. You can't say that about a lot of games.
Is Anthem included with Games Pass? Anybody know?
No, it's
included
not.
with EA Origin.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah, it's definitely not included with Games Pass.
Rats.
Yeah, like EA Origin on PC, if you do EA Origin Premier, $15 a month, you get it for free. Or you get it for the $15 a month subscription. If you're just a regular EA Origin member, the $5 a month, you can play it for 10 hours on Xbox. I think it's called EA Access.
Yeah.
If you have EA Access on Xbox, you can play it for 10 hours. It's not a lot of games, especially EA, where you can be like, hey, I can actually just try this game for $5. And that's pretty badass. So
there you go.
Which EA Access is also just worth investing in, even in the basic thing, because there are other free games you get. Full games, not just 10 hours.
Absolutely.
Included games, not free.
Mass Effect,
I said included, not free.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, they're pretty much free. $5 a month. For $5 a month, you can play every Mass Effect and every Dragon Age game. Yes, please.
I guess those games are only worth $5. Don't know what to tell you.
Either that, or that's a EA Origins is damn good fucking
I think
deal.
I would make the same.
It's probably a good deal.
I would make the same argument for Game Pass, though. I would say the same thing. Where like I
very
feel
true.
like when you're paying for EA Access or Games Pass, you're either paying to play Microsoft exclusives for free or paying to play 10 hours of new EA shit.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like you're paying for the free games. The free games are just a nice bonus.
True.
But
You're definitely not paying for Sea of Thieves.
Thieves.
Thieves. Did I say Sea of Thieves again?
No.
No, I said Sea of Thieves. Damn it!
But
Can we take 5 minutes? I need some Tylenol. My head started to hurt.
That's fine.
I'm going to set you on fire one day. And I won't be invited to your funeral because I will be in jail.
Yeah, that's why you're not going to be invited, because you're going to kill me.
You're going to be the one that does me out.
Yeah.
Does me off. Jacks me off. No.
Yep, there it is.
What is it saying?
It's a slippery stroke.
No. What is it saying? Does me out? No. What? The one that offs
Does
me?
me in?
Does me in. Thank you. Yeah.
What's it say? Does
jerk me
does
off?
me in the butt?
Yeah.
What? You're going to be the one that does me in the butt.
All right.
You're welcome.
You guys ready for the news?
No.
We're recording, right, Ev? Okay, good. First up, back in November, Microsoft won a contract with the U.S. Army to develop integrated visual augmented systems for combat using the company's HoloLens technology. In January, a number of Microsoft employees formed a group known as Microsoft Workers Number 4 Good.
That's how you know you can't take them seriously. They
Yeah.
can't even use the actual word for.
Yep.
gamers.
Last
It's elite.
week, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Last week, this group posted an open letter on Twitter demanding Microsoft to cancel their $479 million contract with the U.S. Army, as well as for Microsoft to cease developing weapons, draft a public-facing acceptable use policy, and appoint that's really funny, and appoint an independent ethics review board to enforce this policy. Their primary concern is summed up in the letter, quote, "We did not sign up to develop weapons, and we demand a say in how our work is used," end quote. In a response to IGN, a Microsoft spokesperson said that Microsoft still intends to continue providing their support to the U.S. Army and that the company appreciates feedback from their employees.
This is how Iron Man happens.
I really like how the thing
you,
that cracks
Sheila.
one of the things that cracks me up about that, like, okay, on one hand, yeah, it sucks that Microsoft is developing weapons technology, whatever. I don't really care. But the thing that's funny to me in that,
Technically, it's not weapons technology. It's stuff to control weapons. So that's not the weapon itself.
It's
Just saying.
It's not the gun, it's just the bullet.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just making the trigger.
Yeah, you're just making the trigger.
Yeah.
I guess it would be the trigger more than anything.
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
mechanism that ignites the
it would
thing.
be the
yeah.
gun, not the bullet.
Sure, yeah.
Sue me.
But the thing that cracks me up about that is how these Microsoft workers for good want Microsoft to develop a acceptable uses plan. Once you release technology, which they just announced the HoloLens 2, it's $3,500. But once you release like a technology like that, you really don't have any control of how your users decide to use that technology. It's
Are they going to get mad if I buy a HoloLens and turn it into like a
squirrel shooter?
Yeah, like a squirrel shooter. Are they going to get mad at me? Like, are you going to make me come up with an ethics board? Like, what the
You
fuck?
set up like guns around the house, just playing guns with like fucking like robot triggers,
no,
like
it's
mechanical
those,
triggers.
Yeah, but it's those fucking paper towel shooters from GameStop.
And you're just controlling them from the living room, like,
Yep.
fucking squirrel.
Fuck you, squirrel. Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it just me or them? I might be the only one that think this is super cool. Like we're getting real close to like Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Like that's kind of neat. I know it's bad because war is bad, but fuck off. Like that's really cool. Like you put the thing on and it's all AR looking. Like you can. It's like a real It's like a heads up display for soldiers. It sounds cool.
I get that war is bad, but also like if technology makes war safer, isn't that good?
I think. The way that I look at it...
I don't want to get into that conversation.
I mean, well, yeah.
The way that I look
at it... cool.
The reason why we have video games at all is because the military-industrial complex invested in the development of computers.
Sure.
The internet was basically created to support communication between military personnel.
Sure. Also, people like killing things.
So, in my mind, like... of course I would rather not have like weapons being made. But $479 million invested into a company to develop a piece of technology means that technology is going to have more applications that are probably not only just for entertainment purposes, but also for medical communication purposes that are going to benefit all of us as a whole.
Yeah.
This is how technology progresses, is by the U.S. military paying for people to research it.
Sure.
So, yes, I think I would be uncomfortable if I was building the HoloLens with the intent of making surgery easier for doctors, right? Which is something they say in their letter.
They're uncomfortable with that?
No, I would be uncomfortable with the fact that, like, me using the application for medical, but then seeing it turned into weapons.
I understand. Okay.
I can see why I would be uncomfortable with that. But at the same time, I think it shows very limited perspective on the history of technology.
Sure.
Wasn't the Army also kind of already a big part in Halo 3? I'm trying to find it right now, but
there was an Army in Halo 3.
Right, yeah, I know. But I think like the U.S. like National Army,
the guy with the mustache yelled at me a lot.
I feel like they were a part of some maybe like
I don't remember
marketing for Halo 3.
I don't remember that. I remember the live action things being very like pro-military. Because it's basically like veterans of the end of the Covenant War, like sitting down and talking about it, talking about what a hero like Master Chief was. But it had like that very like pro-army like kind of tint to it.
I found something here that kind of talks about what I was talking about. The Army sponsored the first Halo 3 Xbox Live tournament, and they set up 3 basic training challenges alongside the tournament too.
Got it.
So I mean, like wouldn't be the first time that.
So our United States government invested $479 million in Microsoft to do this?
I'm sorry.
Our United States government invested $479 million into Microsoft in doing this.
Yes.
It's a lot of fucking money.
It is a lot.
Did you know, I didn't know this. This is a conversation for not this podcast, but the Green Deal is going to cost the country $47 trillion.
What's the Green Deal?
That's what we talked about at Taco Bell.
That's what we were talking about at Taco Bell the other day. The proposed Green Deal would cost the country $47 trillion.
The conversation that we had about cutting out all gas emissions and gas reliance in like a span of 10 years.
Yeah.
$47 trillion.
$47 trillion to not destroy the planet, I feel like, is a fair trade-off.
No, we didn't even invest that much money in World War II. Like including inflation, we didn't even invest that money. Money.
Well, we've never invested $47 trillion.
Whatever, dude. We're fucking in debt to China, probably 80, maybe $100 trillion.
The alternative is that we make Earth unlivable. So it's like,
that's why we go to a different planet.
Are you going to have kids?
Well, no.
Am I going to have kids? No. Ev, do you plan on having kids ever? You don't know. Justin, probably. Whatever. Good thing is we're not going to live to see the Earth destroyed, so I don't fucking care.
Yeah, but I intend on living. Wow. But my dogs will probably have puppies, and their puppies will have puppies, and then like I want the world to be a good place for my dog's puppies.
Yeah, but we're talking about like hundreds, possibly thousands of years before the Earth is destroyed, even on the path that we're going. $47 trillion in a matter of thousands of years. That's a fuck ton of money for this time, this place we're in now. I
feel like, I'm a big fan of the campsite rule. Like, leave the place better than you found it.
Oh,
right.
Campsite. I thought he said campsite. It's like, you mean like the
I like the
porn sites?
I like the campsite rule
Got
too.
it.
But
what's that rule?
I like the campsite rule. I regardless of whether or not I use the fact that I'm not going to have kids as a way of justifying, not necessarily caring too crazy about how I impact the environment, because my impact on the world is significantly shorter than your potentially infinite impact on the world. So it doesn't matter what I do in my lifetime, you're going to be affecting it in the long run way worse than I am. However, I do think that like we have a responsibility as human beings on this planet to not fuck it up irrevocably for future generations, whether or not those generations include my genes or not.
Sure, but $47 trillion in the part we're at now is just that's undoable. That's just not doable.
Yeah,
unless the tax thing goes through. Unless the 1% starts paying taxes, then maybe we hit that.
Well, maybe? I mean, part of the reason how we fucked up was that like I don't want to talk about politics.
We fucked up. Number one, Trump is in office.
There you go.
Is that where we fucked up? I think it happened way before that.
Sure, probably did.
1776.
No, that's where we were on the right track. Somewhere between there and now, we fucked up hard.
Who would have known?
BioWare has revealed its 90-day roadmap for the future of Anthem.
Skip the IGN thing.
I'll go back up.
Okay. Okay.
Right now, actually.
Microsoft is in the news a lot today. For the rest of February, players will have 3 new events introduced to free play, so over the next 2 days, I guess. In March, BioWare will release new cosmetics, new items, Legendary Missions Phase 1, and 1 new free play event. In April, Anthem will get new items, expanded progression through the Mastery System, more free play events, Legendary Missions Phase 2, a new Stronghold, weekly Stronghold challenges, leaderboards, and guilds. Finally, in May, we will see the start of Cataclysms, as well as the introduction of new items, new missions, and new free play events.
Seems like quite a bit of shit.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, I think one thing people gloss over, if you play Anthem at all, which I would say anybody listening to this maybe doesn't. We might be the only people play the Anthem right now. I have no I have no fucking clue. But a lot of things people are glossing over is the addition of new items. People are like, "Oh, where's the things to do? Where's new game? Where's new strongholds?" It's like, no. I don't think you understand this. They're adding new items, which could completely change the way you play your Storm or your Javelin.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome. Like that there's your, like I said, there's your end game.
Especially if you have to, if it's so good to where you'd want to build your build around that.
Sure.
Now you suddenly have to min-max all
now
the
you
gear
gotta
that you already have.
Now you got to go back again and start grinding for shit that complements whatever the hell the new item is. Could be new guns, could be new gear. Like I'm a firm believer that there's, right now for each Javelin, there's only 10 abilities per Javelin. I'm a firm believer at BioWare. There's probably another 30 per Javelin just sitting on a counter waiting to go out.
Yeah, they're
which
testing
is
them slowly.
Yeah, which is great, man. I'm not faulting BioWare. It's like that should have been in the game at launch. Like no, don't do that. Like slowly trickle it to us because that's really fucking cool. The idea that ultimates could change, I think that sounds fucking great. Somebody brought that on a podcast I was listening to, like the idea that they're not going to change the way a Javelin necessarily plays, but they could change the way an ultimate works. Where like an Interceptor ultimate, it's just you kind of like pew pew pew, kind of like a bounce around melee,
like a ninja dash.
Yeah, like a ninja
thing,
dash
like
thing.
Genji's thing. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
maybe another Interceptor ultimate could be, you have a one charge and you end up kind of like shooting up in the air and you kind of like high noon a bunch of enemies, and then your ultimate is going down and one-shotting every enemy that you high noon. You know what I mean? Bunch of cool things that you could do with these ultimates. Super fucking cool, man. I'm excited for this.
Especially with like game. Shaper technology too. I mean, I haven't gotten super into the story, but that could be an easy way. I feel
100%
to write off like this is why things are different.
You only have to play the game for 2.5 hours to realize like this whole Anthem thing basically terraforms worlds. So the entire map or sections of that map could completely change because of events and free play and stuff like that, which sounds fucking awesome.
I think one of the parts that we kind of skipped over, and I've only played one of them, but I think Strongholds very much are some of the best content in that game.
Fun.
Just from the one that I played,
and we did that on normal. Think about it on hard. Or Grandmaster.
But even on normal, like there was a difficulty there, and it was a ton of fun, and I think that they're really well laid out. According to the roadmap, it looks like we're only getting one more Stronghold in the 90 days.
Yeah.
But they had said previously that in March we were getting Act 1 of their story and a Stronghold with that. So we could have anywhere from 4 to 5 Strongholds. I wish there were more in the base game.
Sure.
But if we're getting a Stronghold every other month, that would be okay with me.
To be fair, Destiny launched. I went back and looked at this because I know I had this question. It's like, how many strikes did Destiny 1 launch with? 5. 6, including the PlayStation 1, which I don't include because that strike sucks. So 5 strikes total in Destiny, and you didn't see another one until House of Wolves, which was a year.
Yeah.
So you played 5 strikes, and this one we're getting another strike within 2 months of release.
Yeah.
Which is a very good indication that maybe before the end of this year we could have a total of 6, maybe 7 strikes or strongholds. Maybe I don't want to like assume, but Chris,
5 is more than 1. So Destiny wins.
Sure. Plus, I'm looking forward to legendary story missions. That sounds fucking fun.
Yeah.
There's been a couple story missions where we were like, holy shit, this mission was a shit ton of fun. Making it like extreme difficulty sounds like it sounds great.
I mean, one of the things that I was watching just a small portion of a Division 2 live stream. One of the things they said is that when you play a mission, at least for the second time, but I'm assuming for times after this too, but say you go and play a mission the first time, and then you go back and play the same mission a second time on your same character, they change the spawns and the enemies that appear in that mission. So it's unique to you can't just walk in and throw a grenade at a door knowing that enemies are going to spawn out of there. I would really like to see them take that sort of approach to legendary missions instead of just rehashing the same mission, like change it up in like really minute ways and encourage us to not just be stuck in our same old ways of dealing with shit.
I agree. One more criticism about Anthem: the AI sucks.
Yeah,
the AI is just absolutely garbage in Anthem. That's something they definitely need to work on, especially coming out of the Division. Wait till you play the Division this weekend. You are going to play, right?
Yes.
Are you going to play Division this weekend?
Is this the open beta?
Yeah.
I'll give it a try.
The AI in Division is infuriating in the best way possible because they consistently try to flank you and you've got to watch your back. It's great. AI in Division is fucking amazing. AI in Anthem, there's a couple times where like there's a sniper, there would be a sniper and I'm in the air and I see his little red bloop and nothing happens. And then like 2 seconds later it goes bloop, don't get shot. It's like, well, there you go.
In an interview with IGN Unfiltered host Ryan, in an interview with IGN Unfiltered host Ryan McCaffrey, Bonnie Ross gave listeners some insight into the state of the Halo franchise between Halo Reach and Halo 4. After Bungie's exit from Microsoft, the company briefly considered handing development of future titles to Gearbox Studios, the developer behind Borderlands, or outright canceling the franchise for the foreseeable future.
Thank fucking God they didn't.
Yeah. Bonnie Ross, who was running internal and external Xbox game publishing at the time, felt it was, quote, blasphemy, end quote, to cancel the franchise or hand over development to an external studio. Ross then pitched her vision for Halo's future and was allowed to quickly form Microsoft's internal Halo developer 343 Studios. I thought that was a really cool story.
It's a cool story. Thank fucking God it didn't go to Gearbox.
Man, how different would that have been? Like,
Cortana would have been like Handsome Jack, but female.
Or it just never would have come out. I mean,
well, I mean, first of all, you have to look at the way that they handled the Alien franchise, right? Like, there's a bunch of allegations that...
The what franchise? I'm sorry.
The Alien franchise.
Oh, yeah.
There was a bunch of allegations at the time that the money that they were getting to develop Alien Colonial Marines was being sent to Borderlands 2, and that's why Alien Colonial Marines released the way it did.
Who the fuck said that was a good game? Somebody
Nobody?
says that Alien... No, somebody I know said Alien Colonial Marines was a good game. I can't remember who.
I don't know. So I would be worried. I wonder if that was sort of what pushed their decision, because that would have been happening around the same time. But I wonder if that would have been like, I just would be worried about handing it off and them using their money for something else, because they've already proven themselves like bad stewards of other people's IP.
I think that's probably a reason, but I think the bigger reason was like, this is our thing. I don't want to hand it off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, this is Halo. This is what we've worked on for years. I would never, I don't know. It's an intellectual property that I created. My last thing I would ever want to do is hand it off to somebody to do something.
It just feels like giving up. Just like, okay, here you go.
I mean, the funniest thing about that too is that also like brings back memories of a time where Bungie, like the idea of losing Bungie was so cataclysmic to someone that they would consider canceling one of their highest earning IPs ever.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think Bungie is a horrible developer, and I think they're a great developer. I still have a lot of good things to say about Bungie. However, the Bungie of 2014 to 2019 is not the Bungie that created Halo's 1, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an amount of polish on those games that Destiny doesn't have and probably will never have.
Sure.
Partially because of its model, but also because like Bungie has significantly changed since then.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, I mean, it's not crazy to think like at the time, how could you even imagine a Halo game without Bungie? You know, so
yeah,
I still can't.
True, he hasn't played 4 or 5. He played a little bit of 5, but that's it.
I mean, it's not.
I think Bungie could recapture that magic if they get rid of PvP in their games, and Destiny in particular.
Well, good luck trying to convince them to do that, because that's never going to happen.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I think that would reclaim the magic of the Bungie.
Nintendo of America's Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring, with Doug Bowser set to replace him as president. After 15 years at Nintendo of America, almost 13 of which were as president and COO, Fils-Aimé will retire on April 15th. Nintendo of America's current SVP of Sales and Marketing, Doug Bowser, will then succeed Reggie as president. In a video about the transition, Fils-Aimé said the following, quote, Nintendo owns a part of my heart forever. It's a part that is filled with gratitude for the incredibly talented people I've worked with, for the opportunity to represent such a wonderful brand, and most of all, to feel like a member of the world's most positive and enduring gamer community. As I look forward to departing in both good health and good humor, this is not a game over for me, but instead a leveling up to move to more time with my wife, family, and friends, end quote. It's a sad time. Like, I don't think anything at Nintendo's going to change, but it's the end of an era.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. And now the internet's loving that his last name's Bowser.
Yeah.
So
it's the joke that won't die.
Nope.
But needs to.
He's kind of embraced it too. I don't know if you saw that. It was like a video. I don't know what he was talking about, but in the background there was stuffed plushies of Mario and Luigi tied together with like a Nintendo 64 controller.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's like, I mean, I guess if you can't beat the internet, just fuel the fire.
Is Nintendo the most positive community? I think that's right.
I think that's
They're
right.
also the most they're also the most hive mind mentality.
They're also like the biggest apologists.
I wouldn't.
As a
agree with
Nintendo
that.
fan, we pretty much are pretty okay with anything that Nintendo does, even if it's a
Oh,
bad
I
decision.
sure. Yes. No, I completely agree with that. Yeah. Even if it's bad, you guys are okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. But but that's where I think that's the hive mind. Nintendo has the biggest hive mind mentality out of every gamer.
It's because they don't allow online chat.
They have to.
Every
we can't
every
communicate
Nintendo fan is
somehow.
still actually 15 years ago.
Yeah. We can't communicate
Yeah,
with
there's
each
no
other,
way
so
to-
there's no reason to
we
complain
ju-
about anything.
Or you guys have like, you literally have evolved the hive mind of like,
Yeah.
that is how you communicate to other Nintendo players, is like just telepathically.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I also think as a Nintendo fan, a hive mind apologist, I don't think that doesn't Nintendo make mistakes, sure, but I don't think that. I think where Nintendo makes its biggest mistakes is with fucking like exclusive products. But I think in
Online.
terms of software, online, whatever. I don't play Nintendo games for online, so I don't care. But I think in terms of software, like
The apologist.
Right? that was it. That was it coming out.
but as far as software goes, Nintendo I think is the best developer around.
Sure, I agree.
You might not love all their games, but you can't deny the fact that all their games come out and they fucking work.
100% agree.
As long as they don't have an online component, it's fine. Looking at you, Smash Bros.
Looking at you, every Nintendo game that's ever come out.
This one's from Variety. I basically just copy and pasted it in here, but I knew I missed something, and I thought this was interesting. As You Sow is a nonprofit shareholder advocacy group that publishes a yearly report on the 100 most overpaid CEOs of the S&P 500 index to call out, quote, excessive compensation, end quote. The organization calculates the overpayment by taking the median pay of an employee at the company and comparing it against the CEO's pay. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick's pay is $28,698,375.
Is that a year?
A year, yes. This is an overpayment of almost $13 million, according to As You Sow's estimates. He was the 45th most overpaid CEO on the list. Electronic Arts Inc. head Andrew Wilson is paid $35,728,764. This is about $19.7 million too much, according to As You Sow. Wilson rounded out the end of the list, appearing at number 98. This is just
I would assume that there's not $35 million sitting in these guys' bank accounts. That's true. I would assume some of that is stock.
no. I think that's paid per year. I don't think that includes stock.
There's no way some of these dudes are making $28 million a year.
Why
There's
do
just
you-
no way.
Why not?
Because that's like fucking the movie stars don't even make that. There's just no way. I just would assume. I'm not saying they're wrong.
Well, I
I'm
bet
just,
that it also
this is all
includes
just
bonuses
assumed,
and stuff.
right? Which a lot of bonuses come in this form of stock, not payment. We saw that in the Activision thing. That guy who got hired, the CEO of Activision, got paid like $30 million, but $20 million of it was in stock.
Well,
Tip-
no, but
tip-
what we determined, because we talked about this last week, what we determined is it was something like $35 million in bonuses, but $21 million was cash. Only like $14 million of it was in stock.
Okay, well that's still stock,
But that's also like $21 million that you're just getting as a sign-on bonus.
sure. Yeah, no, I get it. But my point being is like I have a hard time thinking Andrew Wilson is walking away every year with $35 million million cash.
Let me pull up I saw the Variety article.
Yeah,
Open. Let me just
this is just assumption. I just have a if he's walking out every year with $35 million hard fucking cash, that's ridiculous.
I think you'd be surprised.
I probably will be. Like I said, this is all just assumptions. I have no fucking clue. It's
typically,
it's really fucking shitty that we're over here sitting in a really nice studio.
Right.
But my point being is that we're over here sitting here, making fucking whatever we make.
It doesn't say.
And this guy's making $35 million. Mm-hmm.
Well, even so I was talking to a friend who she works with me, but her husband works on more of like the corporate side. Even then, he's not even a higher up. He's corporate, like IT. She was telling me about his quarterly bonus he gets on top of his normal paid salary. His salary was in the 6 digits. His quarterly bonus, so he gets this 4 times a year, every 3 months. He just got it. It was $16,000.
Wow.
Gets that.
And he makes
4
6
times.
figures.
And he makes 6 figures on top of that. And he's not even that high up. Like, corporate America makes a lot of money.
Why? They don't do anything.
Because of the people underneath them, like me and his
literally-
wife, that do the work.
They literally don't do anything.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
It's fucking crazy how much they just don't do.
You just have to.
They got to deal with the stress.
You climb
Like,
the
I'm
ranks
sure-
by having connections.
Sure, like I'm sure Andrew Wilson probably has more stress than we could ever think of
More money,
on
more
his shoulders.
I don't know. With $35 million a year, I certainly hope he doesn't, because then there's no hope for the rest of us.
Well, of course, I would assume that he does. He's got shareholders and fucking
yeah, but like
whatever it is, always putting. I'm sure he's got a ton of stress
Well,
on
let's
his
say he
shoulders,
gets fired
but not
tomorrow.
$35 million worth of stress.
Let's say he gets fired tomorrow, though. Like, you can live off $35 million for the rest of your life.
You could.
Sure, you could.
Well,
I don't know if he could.
I would. I don't know.
People get used to a way of life.
I guess
people
but
make a lot of money and then just their lives tank
I
if
don't
that
know,
just goes away.
Sell the Maserati and your fucking yacht, and then you put that money in your savings account
Right.
and live in a small house.
Sure,
and
I've always said this. Like, if I ever made even 6 figures a year, like I mean, my lifestyle wouldn't change. Let's bump it up to 7. My lifestyle probably wouldn't change much.
No,
you know what I mean?
You'd be much. I feel like you'd probably be
I would own
stress free.
I would own a lot more D&D miniatures and a lot more guitars. That's
Right.
pretty much it.
We'd have a studio just for D&D.
Yeah, sure, seriously. But I don't think my lifestyle would change much.
I don't think mine would. I think I would get a PS4 Pro, 4K TV, better car.
I would travel more.
Really
That's
nice
what I would
computer.
do. If we're being honest, I would just travel more. But yeah. Other than
Nobody
that.
asked you, Justin.
Yeah,
I
this
asked-
is about Chris and
I
I.
asked
Don't
myself.
interject yourself into this conversation.
But now it is my new goal to now get on the corporate side of things so I can make that much money still doing nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
seriously. You already make whatever you make doing nothing.
That's
You look at you would literally look at
know.
naked
Yeah, you're
girls
kind of in
all
corporate
day
America.
long.
Good job,
I am.
CEO Justin T. Lopez.
You look
know,
at
you gotta
naked
start
chicks all
somewhere.
day long.
yeah, I do. It's great.
I'm sure it is. It sounds amazing.
Look, man, it's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Now we're gonna jump into the rumor mill. We have 2 Microsoft rumors today. There we go. Direct Feed Games, a gaming outlet that has a strong track record for rumors, especially centering around Nintendo, claims that Microsoft is planning on publishing ports of its exclusives on the Nintendo Switch, and that Xbox Games Pass will be coming to the Switch using Microsoft's xCloud streaming service. Game Informer picked up on this rumor and confirmed through their own sources that an announcement could come as early as this year. Seems pretty much in line with what we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I'll play State of Decay on Switch. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. There's a lot of cool games that just having that portability makes it, again, worth
Sea
it.
of Thieves.
Ori and the Blind Forest, which is one of the early titles they're talking about putting on the Switch, that's like made for the Switch. Like, there's no better way to play that game, I don't think.
I can't think of any other games on Xbox Game Pass. Gears of War 3.
Well, no, it's they're
Halo?
They're 2 separate rumors. So Microsoft published games could be coming to the Switch as actual cartridges, full games.
Got it.
Also, Games Pass you'll be allowed to stream. So like you could stream The Division on your Switch
Got it.
through
Right.
Games Pass.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That'd be very cool.
Stream Division.
stream Division.
Not
You're not
down-
playing it. You're
right.
streaming it.
Cool. 900p. Bring it.
Such an asshole.
But you could make the definition really good if you just hold it up really close to your face.
Get a little bit closer.
The next up, Microsoft supposedly will reveal the next generation of Xbox consoles during their 2019 E3 presentation. If rumors from the French site
Good luck.
Joe Video, the Lockhart and Anaconda systems will supposedly launch by the end of 2020 alongside Halo Infinite and a new game by the newly Microsoft acquired Ninja Theory Studio. Sure. I mean, I was thinking about this at the time when I was writing that into the rumor mill. That would actually be pretty smart because Sony's not going to be there.
Yeah.
So really, you kind of own the stage.
Sure.
Like that would be a good time to do it. And I would bet that if they reveal it, then we'll probably see PS5 at PSX this year if they do PSX.
Didn't we say this already?
I
feel like we've said this.
We've talked about it.
Okay.
I think we've said like if they get revealed this year, this is probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think now that more not official,
I don't
but
know.
more rumors are coming out, things kind of are falling more into
Now
place.
that now people are saying who actually get listened to are saying it, that's become right.
Exactly.
Where 6 months ago when we were talking about it, we weren't right. At
We
the
can't
time.
read our own articles because we don't write
that's,
articles.
That's why we're Games Jesus and not Games Pope.
It's true.
There you go.
But I want a Pope mobile, a sticky mobile,
What?
Ugh,
Oh, I get it.
I don't like that.
a twins mobile.
A twin mobile.
Yeah, twins sticky.
Isn't that just a
There we go.
motorcycle?
A
Keep going.
Tissermobile.
You'll get it. And in our quick saves, Motion Twin has announced DLC for their indie darling Dead Cells. The Rise of the Giant DLC is built to give more depth to Dead Cells in-game and will feature new biomes, bosses, enemies, weapons, and more. Happy about that. Although I still haven't bought Dead Cells, just because I know that I would play it and never
I'm
beat
happy,
it.
even though I've never bought it.
I just want.
And I know I'll play it, and I know I'll love it, but I never will.
I'm happy.
No.
by
I
proxy.
will never do it because I won't buy it because I won't ever beat it. Like I will be in the same section of that game for 30 hours and never beat it, and then
Got it.
like never get to play the DLC, and it'll be fine. Like I love Rogue Legacy, but I will never beat it, and so like I don't see the point in keep playing it, even though I bought it like 6 times.
Fair enough.
And then last up, there is a Pokemon Nintendo Direct tomorrow, the 27th of February at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Tomorrow morning.
It's tomorrow evening.
I always thought Nintendo Directs are in the morning.
No, I looked it up. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But we won't be able to cover it on this podcast because Justin won't let us record on Thursdays anymore.
You know,
It's not that he won't let us. It's
Feel
just
free.
It's just he's a prick.
exactly. That's what it is.
That's the biggest thing.
Feel free to come in on your own time and record without me.
No, because then you'll just throw a hissy fit that you weren't on it.
I won't throw a hissy
Yes,
fit.
you will. I've seen you throw hissy fits.
That's not true.
You're throwing one right now.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's not true. Pokemon.
You're super red. You're saying it.
I'm
You're
just
hissy
livid
fit.
right
Yeah,
now.
Right now.
He's sick of this. He's sick of us picking on him for making us change the recording date.
Like a
Like I
year
said,
later. We've been doing this for like a year.
Like
No,
I said,
we
he's throwing a
haven't.
hissy fit.
We made the change once you started your job. You have not been
That's
at your job
true.
for a year.
We've been doing this for a year.
Feels like a year.
It does not feel like a year. Feels like
does.
6 months.
It's wearing on my soul.
Where's your pink lanyard?
At home.
What'd you do at work today?
Just look at boobs.
Yep.
Boobs.
Is it Gen 8? Of course it's Gen 8, right? We know
I
there's a
guess.
Pokemon game coming out for the Switch this
I
year.
guess it seems
Pokemon Snap.
So
I would appreciate that. However,
I think it's pretty obviously Gen 8. It just seems like they're this time around. I feel like they usually reveal when they have a next gen coming out or when they have a new Pokemon game coming out. I feel like they usually reveal it in like March or April. But I guess it's like one day away from being March, so I guess
it's true.
But it
Or
just
maybe
it
this
seems fairly early. To
Maybe
announce
this
it.
one's just real big.
Maybe it'll be like multiple Pokemon things. The second trailer for Detective Pikachu came out today, and that was good.
Did
Mewtwo was in it.
I know he looks like a slimy tadpole.
Pikachu said hell?
Oh, Ryan Reynolds said hell.
Pikachu.
If there's not a Deadpool reference in this movie, I'm gonna be pissed.
Surely there will at least be a Pikachu reference in the next Deadpool movie.
Okay, that's better.
That's fair.
That's fair enough. Sure. As long as they put the 2 and 2 together, I'd be happy.
Yeah,
Even though
I'd be very surprised if they did.
Man, I was thinking the other day, changing pace a little bit.
That's fine.
I can
Pokemon
maybe
Sun and Moon sucks. I agree.
no.
Yep.
Too linear.
I was thinking the other day, like you can tell we're at the end of a generation cycle for consoles because there's really like 2 games I'm like really looking forward to. And there's not a whole lot after that. I know E3 like hasn't happened yet, but usually there's like games like in the far future I'm super excited for. I guess there's maybe one far future game I'm excited for. I don't know. It was just a little.
Do you consider Last of Us far future?
No, I think Last of Us is either late this year or early next year.
That's kind of far future.
Not really.
That's a year away.
I would say like the games I'm looking forward to the most are Division 2, which comes out in like 2 weeks, so whatever. And then Last of Us 2, which I either will come out in the end of the year or early next year. Far future game is obviously Dragon Age, but I don't think that's a PS4 game, so I don't see the point in being excited for it. Guess I'm excited for the upcoming Bethesda games, but again, those aren't PS4 games, so what the fuck do I care? But it's sad to be like, there's not like a list of games I'm really excited for. I think Anthem was really like that last like near far future game that I was excited for. I'm gonna play Days Gone, but I still don't playing Days Gone because it's a Sony exclusive, not because I think it's gonna be good. I just feel like Sony hasn't led me wrong yet, so I should at least give it a shot.
I'm good. Anthem just came out and Division comes out in 2 weeks. I'm literally set for the rest of the year. Literally set for the rest of the year. I couldn't give a flying fuck about what's coming out in the next 9 months. Unless it's fucking Elder Scrolls or like, unless it's one of the Bethesda or BioWare
But
games.
isn't it, I don't know.
Nope.
It's not a bummer at all that it's like I don't know what's coming out in the near future.
Nope, because I've weaned myself off Destiny, which is like the greatest feeling in the world, and I've got 2 more, objectively, in my opinion, better games than Destiny to last me for the rest of the year, or at least until E3. And then when E3 comes around, and they're like, bah, 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 then I'll start looking forward. Mm-hmm. But at least until July, when's E3? June or July?
June.
At least until June, I'm good. 100% good.
Yeah, I mean, Anthem will definitely last me for
you know
the
what?
next
Fire
20
Emblem.
years.
That's another game I'm excited for.
Yeah, but that's not. Is that before June?
Fire Emblem.
July?
So it's not.
Well, I'm just talking about upcoming games. I'm not talking about
okay.
for me. I'm not talking about.
I love Fire Emblem. I played them all, but those are the games that are like I'm not like salivating for.
I mean,
I love Fire Emblem. I'm going to play it, but
we've
I'm not
already we've discussed this though. Like Red Dead and Kingdom Hearts are really outliers in the kind of games that you've been playing in the last like 4 years since we started this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Like pretty much since Taken King, the games that you've really been into are live service games. Mm-hmm. Because
it never ends.
But I also think it's a matter of you. Correct me if I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm speaking for you. But I think that you get a lot of pleasure of showing off your achievements to other people, and you can't do that in a single player game.
Yes. However, I also get a lot of pleasure of consistently getting to play a game 6 months after it came out without playing the single player story over again. Mm-hmm. I love that. I just love it. You know, I love Destiny for it. Loved Destiny, or still love Destiny for it.
See,
well, I mean,
what's the point? Hold on, I missed it.
I love being able to play a game 6 months after it's come out and not be playing the single player again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Playing more content in a world that I already fell in love with.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I also would argue. I would argue that at least in the console space with shared shooters, shared world shooters specifically, or looter shooters or whatever, I don't think any game has truly fulfilled the promise of regular content updates yet. I think Anthem could potentially be the first.
Division 2
or
Division, but I think that's one of my biggest problems with shared world games is like it's really great to be able to jump into a game and play it over and over again and jump in with your friends and have new stuff to do. But the problem that you keep running into, at least with Destiny 1, Division, Destiny 2, maybe Warframe. I haven't played enough of Warframe to have a strong opinion about that. But you get a big content drop, and then you're basically like doing the same thing for 4 months till you're about to pull your hair out and stop playing. And then new content drop happens, and you're again like stuck in that loop, which is not a bad thing. It's just I'm excited for us to get to a point where it's sort of like the World of Warcraft model, which really only exists because of subscriptions. Mm-hmm. So we need subscriptions on consoles, but Anthem or Division might be the first game to do it without subscriptions and justify the production costs.
And also, World of Warcraft's been around for 10 years.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know why.
How long?
15.
I don't know why shared world games.
2006? 4.
I don't know why shared world games insist on trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. Like,
uniqueness.
But like, look at first-person shooters, right? Every first-person shooter learns from a previous first-person shooter, and
Destiny
they're better for
didn't.
it. I don't think Destiny counts as what I'm considering a first-person shooter.
Got it.
No first-person shooter is made in a vacuum. They all benefit from each other. But it's
Killzone didn't.
what's up?
Killzone didn't. Killzone sucked.
Yeah, that's why
compared
it's
to Halo.
dead. But with shared world games, it's like they're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel instead of learning from previous titles.
Sure.
And it's
But they
annoying.
do end up learning from previous titles and later down the line becoming like other titles, right?
Yeah, but it just sucks that it takes them 6 months to a year to do that.
Sure.
When it's like, if you guys had just stopped trying to be unique snowflakes
Sure. Yeah, I know. I agree.
and learn from each other.
But it gets better, which I'm okay for. Right.
Which is funny though, because like they're totally fine copying the loot system from Diablo. All of them do.
sure.
We're going to copy the same exact loot system from Diablo. We're even going to use the same colors to denote rarity. But God forbid we add public events on the map. Like, that's a step too far, like other games.
Like I said, though, I think I can, again, not to sound like an apologist, but I think I understand their logic. It's just dumb logic.
Yeah,
It's extremely dumb logic, especially in a game like this.
whatever their logic is, whether it's them trying to reinvent the wheel or them trying to immerse you,
I think that's it.
either way, it's stupid and it
Yeah.
shows. I'm sorry, that's an example of poor game design.
Sure.
It's not a bad game, but it's poor game. It's an instance of poor game design in a good game.
Terrible game design. Let's go play some Anthem. And yes, you're 100% right. I like to show, show off accomplishments in these games because you can. Other single player games you can't do that. I mean, I got the Ultimate Blade. I can take a fucking video that I got the Ultimate Blade of Sora, but like that's not.
That's just for you.
Yeah, it's just for me. But like in this game, it's like, fuck, I got a masterwork. You were there when I got my first masterwork, and it was really fucking cool. I got to share that with somebody. You know what I mean? You don't
Yeah.
get to do that in other games.
Well, that's how, like I kind of felt that whenever I beat Kingdom Hearts, and then I wanted to get the secret ending, so because I thought I was going to get an achievement or a trophy for it.
Yep.
You don't.
Yep.
Had I known that, I would have just watched the video on YouTube.
Sure, yeah.
I wouldn't have stayed up till like 3 a.m, like
Looking
going
for
world
damn-
by
yeah,
world,
looking
going
for
to
Mickey
emblems.
Yeah.
As soon as I watched this trailer, I was like, all right, where's the trophy?
Yep.
Nope, didn't happen.
Yep.
What, do you not get a trophy for collecting the amount of?
You get a trophy for collecting all the emblems.
Oh, yeah, I only collected 60.
Oh,
You only
okay.
need
Because
60.
you don't have to
That's all you
collect.
needed.
You don't have to collect all of them to get the secret.
No, if you're on easy, you needed to collect 80 out of the 90. On normal, you need to collect 60 out of the 90, and on proud mode, 30 out of the 90.
Yeah, so
They're
But I
very
get that.
they were very lenient on what you needed to unlock the secret ending in Kingdom Hearts.
That's because I feel like only certain people understand it. I think there are even Kingdom Hearts fans where it's like,
Possibly, but old Kingdom Hearts games, good God, the first Kingdom Hearts game to unlock that secret ending with the fight between Roxas and Riku and the world that never was. Jesus Christ, you had to do so much shit to get that secret ending.
Roxas.
Find all the damn Dalmatians.
well, that's like
fucking
I like growing up without the internet. Like I didn't know that was a thing until seeing it much later on YouTube. Like
yeah.
me and my friends didn't even know it existed. So
You were gonna ask a question. Go for it.
Roxas. That's Sora's nobody.
Yep.
He was
You-
in
and-
Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yes, but you didn't know this. You didn't know this was Roxas at the time. You just saw an older looking blindfolded Riku fighting a guy in an organization cloak with 2 keyblades. That's all you saw.
Oh, so you didn't know it was Roxas.
Had no idea it was Roxas. But it was the coolest fucking trailer that I've ever seen in my entire life when I'm 14 years old playing Kingdom Hearts.
just the idea of dual
Dual
wielding
wielding
keyblades.
And the keyblades you had were so significant because it was Oblivion and Oathkeeper. Oblivion was given to you by Kyrie because it was in Kingdom Hearts lore, there's a Paopu fruit, and it's like a legend in Destiny Islands that if you share a fruit with somebody, you're meant to be together the rest of your lives. And so Sora and Kyrie shared Paopu fruits before shit hit the fan. And so that keyblade on the keychain is a Paopu fruit.
Oh, okay.
On the other one, it's Oblivion, which is like Sora's darkness basically encased into a keyblade.
So when that secret ending happened, did everyone think, "Oh, that's Sora and Riku fighting"?
Sort of, yeah, because you saw 2 keyblades that Sora wielded in part 1, so in the game. So you're like, who is this? Is it Sora? What is it? But there was a point in that trailer that some of the hair, you could see blonde hair underneath the hood.
Oh, okay.
So that gave it away. It's like, well, that's not Sora.
But it is Sora.
Sure. Yeah. See, now you're catching on.
You get it.
I understand.
You get it.
nobody's.
Yeah, you get it. It is Sora. It's Sora's. It's the shell left over from Sora's heart.
So that fight though, where does that get resolved at? Is that in Kingdom Hearts 3 or is that
358 over 2. The 358 over 2 explains why that fight happened.
interesting? That's kind of seems like a wet fart to be like, let's put that on the 3DS and not like.
No, it's a good game. 358 over 2 is a good game.
I know,
but I get what you're saying. Yeah,
but
yeah.
like that
Yeah.
that was a lot of anticipation
Sure, yeah.
to figure out what that fight was about.
Well,
and it happens on
I'm
the
sorry.
3DS.
You figure out what the fight's about in 2. You just don't actually see the fight fully play out and all the cogs intertwining in the fight until the DS game.
Still, like
Yeah.
it's just.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a little bit sad.
At the time, it did feel like that. Like, you're playing this awesome epic game on PlayStation, and then it's like, why are you releasing these little bits of games on a mobile console? Basically, it was weird.
I remember for Christmas one year I got the Game Boy Advance Kingdom Hearts with the cards.
No, yeah.
Very
Worst
weird.
one in my opinion. I hated that card system.
I mean, also like I feel like moving a 3D game to like weird 2D but not 2D was like a weird choice.
Yeah, I think it worked, but it was dumb.
I mean, that was also around the same time that didn't they have the ones on the PSP come out like shortly after that one? And those are basically like.
I don't know.
fully-fledged
I'd have to
portable
look
versions.
because that was a Game Boy Advance game. Was the PSP out around the same time as the Game Boy Advance? Yeah, then sure. Birth by Sleep was late.
What?
Birth by
Now
Sleep
I'm
was.
doubting myself.
Birth
Was
by
it?
Sleep was
Might have
late.
been DS time.
I feel like
Birth by
PSP was
Sleep
much
was
later.
late.
You might be right.
Also, Birth by Sleep was late in the PSP cycle. I feel like it was.
So PSP launched in 2004.
Okay, when was Game Boy Advance died, or midpoint of Game Boy Advance?
I feel like 2000.
I have no fucking clue. I don't remember. I remember having them.
2001. So they were around the same time.
Sure.
But yeah, so I wonder what was the name of the Kingdom Hearts Advance one?
The Advance one,
Yeah.
Chain of Memories.
Man, just everyone's listening to us do me do research. Chain of Memories came out in 2004, so
Okay. Birth by Sleep.
Sleep.
These fucking titles of these Kingdom Hearts
shit.
games.
Yeah, no, Birth by Sleep didn't come out till 2010.
I was gonna say it was
Gosh,
super late.
I can't
was-
believe that game's like that
Yeah,
recent.
I was gonna say it was super late in the PSP life cycle. It was right before Vita.
So, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Yep.
That progresses the story from Kingdom Hearts 2, right?
Yes.
So that means that even between
From 1.
So
Chain of
it's
Memories
between 1
Memories
and
takes
2?
place between 1 and 2.
Okay, well, so that's still like a long jump between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep.
Well, Birth by Sleep takes place before Kingdom Hearts 1. Birth by Sleep is a prequel.
But Birth by Sleep is different though, because it's not, as far as I know, it's not Sora. It's like revealing, like it's like the KOTOR of
Yes,
Kingdom
yeah,
Hearts.
100%. Yeah, that's
so I feel like
exactly
that's a
what it
little
is.
bit more impactful because you're
Yeah.
getting like a unique look at this.
Oh yeah,
universe.
100%. Yeah.
As opposed to just like Chain of Memories, which I guess Chain of Memories makes sense since it was an advanced game.
Yeah, well, Chain of Memories, it's essential just because you would start 2 and have, like, if you went from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2, you would literally have no idea what was happening at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2 if you didn't play Chain of Memories.
I guess I'm this guy now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Jim Sterling, around the launch of Kingdom Hearts 3, he did a video about Kingdom Hearts having an awful story.
It's not awful.
And he does this thing. It's
complex.
He starts like going through the entire story of Kingdom Hearts from the beginning, and he starts doing cuts, and he has like a little like clock at the bottom. So maybe like 5 or 10 minutes of him, but it's just reading like different parts of the story, and then it'll like fade out and fade back up to a new part of the story, and the clock will be like 30 minutes. It's just him trying to explain it all. It's really, really funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would, this might be apologetic in me, but I don't know if Kingdom Hearts is a bad story. It's definitely told in just the most convoluted way possible.
I think that's
Let's-
I think like aside from the fact that Jim Sterling plays up like his asshole like side
Oh, he
pretty
is the
significantly.
epitome of negativity clickbait on YouTube.
Yeah, but
Sure.
it's different because it's not like it's I don't know. I'm a Jim Sterling apologist apparently.
Sure, yeah, but I mean,
it's-
it's like Angry Joe. Angry Joe is Angry Joe. He's
but
never
it's like
going to put out a
snide
positive
British,
review.
like
Yeah,
snide British character as opposed to just
Yeah.
like
It's
someone.
It's done in an
get a
entertaining way.
clickbait.
of course it is.
Yeah, I think that was like the point he was making. It's not necessarily the story is bad. I think it's more like you have all these pieces to tell a really good story, but it's a fucking mess.
It's a lot to follow, but once you do follow it, It's great.
Yeah, it is a great story. It's maybe I wouldn't call it the best in the world, but it's definitely good.
I mean, it doesn't help that it apparently has awful voice acting. So
I don't think that affects the story. That affects the gameplay and
I think it
cutscenes.
affects the presentation.
Sure,
I feel like
yeah.
if the voice acting was on point, it doesn't matter.
Sure,
It's
yeah.
charm.
Yeah, but if you were to take Kingdom Hearts and like make a novel out of it, it'd be a great story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hard as hell to follow even there. There's way too many people.
That was my thought. I was like,
way
I'm just
too many
gonna
people to follow.
agree because I don't understand, but I feel like it would be like Game of Thrones on crack.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. At the end of Kingdom
worse
Hearts
than that.
3, you've got Aqua, Terra, Ven, Sora, Kairi, Riku, Roxas, Namine, Shion, Axel. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody.
What's
Mickey? You've got fucking Mickey, Donald, Goofy. That's already 13 main characters by the end of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Plus, you have the 13 from Organization.
Sure,
13
then you
or
have the
whatever.
13 bad guys, but that doesn't include the original bad guy, Heartless Ansem, or Master Xandor and his counterpart, Eriquis. That's what I mean. It's like there's just
meanwhile
way too many people.
At some point, most of these people have been inside the other
100%.
person. Like
Not inside. They've just interacted with.
with
Sora is the only person who has ever had somebody inside them.
Kingdom Hearts world is just a big
No,
like,
Terra
fucking
never had
orgy.
anybody. Terra never went into anybody.
no, who was in Terra?
Nobody.
Eriquis.
No, Eriquis was. Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. He was like fucking
He was.
hiding out inside Terra.
The
You're
whole
right.
time.
I have to say, one of my favorite things.
Fuck, man.
One of my favorite things in life is
Two people, fine. Eriquis and Terra and Sora.
One of my favorite things in life is when
Roxas and Ventus.
when Chris and Justin are having a debate, and it's like a 50-50 thing where Justin says something and Chris goes no, and there's that moment of uncertainty about whether or not Chris is right, and I love that moment, like where either Chris proves his point or he admits that he's wrong. Like it's just like this. It's I don't know. It's like,
It is
it's like
50-50
verbal
because
wrestling.
Justin has a better memory than I do. However, I know I'm right. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, I think that you're Justin has a better memory than you do, but I think that you know the things you know very well.
That's true.
Like, if I ask you about something you don't know about or that you're vaguely aware of, you don't fucking care.
It's true.
But with the things you know about, you tend to be pretty on point. So,
It's all compartmentalized.
Yep.
Did you ever see that scene in Sherlock where it's like you kind of see inside his mind? That's literally my mind whenever I'm thinking about shit. Or the Matrix. It's all compartmentalized. Then when they're doing the guns.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when I'm trying to think of something. That's how I visualize my mind working. Is
You're
just
seeing
like
into the Matrix.
rows of shit coming through until I get to what I'm trying to think of, and it's all in a split second, right? And that's how memory works. But that's how I visualize my head. It's all compartmentalized.
And then
There's
your-
no room for anything new.
Your old
And if
man
I-
Alzheimer's kicks in.
Yeah,
You're like, where the fuck am I?
And if I do have something new that needs to be filed away, something else is forgotten.
At least like in the year 2000.
Yeah.
so quickly, we almost had a TPK minus Cal in D&D last week.
Do you want to read us out first?
Sure, yeah. So, if you guys like what we do,
What does that mean?
Like,
Read us out?
I don't
He's
know.
not reading anything.
Shut up.
If you guys like what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes, the Google Play Store, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts at. You can follow the show on Twitter at Twinstick Radio or on Facebook at facebook.com/Twinstick Radio. We are all on Twitter as well. I'm at Darth Trey. Chris is at Short Change Hero with a 3 instead of the E in Hero, and Justin is at Justin T. Lopez. The show is produced in Everett, Everetted and edited by Everett Jordan.
In Everett.
Yeah, we're in Everett too.
Just send good thoughts his way. Don't follow him anywhere because he hates you. And our theme song is by Connor Manning. Follow him on Twitter at Connor13, one in Connor, 13 spelled out. And hire him to do the theme song for your podcast by going to downstreamstudios.com.
It smells like Blue Monster in here.
Does it?
Well, no, if we're inside Everett, that's what it smells like.
Oh, okay.
Blue Monster, Taco Bell, and Cane's.
Yeah.
Smells like Updog in here.
The trifecta. So we almost had a TPK in D&D last week.
Thinking
yeah, get ready
back,
for D&D talk if you're still
Thinking
here.
back, I think I could have gotten away if I needed to.
I think... So basically, this was supposed to be a deadly encounter. So I balanced it for 7 players because that's how many players we have. And it was a tough encounter. But with the way that most encounters go, I was like, this isn't any different than our normal encounters, so it's nothing. It's not going to be a big deal. 2 things I didn't consider. basically there was a hostage in one of the rooms. Not really, he wasn't really a hostage, but basically there's someone in the rooms that the bad guys and the party were going after. And one of the things that the party figured out that I wasn't aware of and hadn't even thought of was that they could basically send Justin to the back of the building, have him use shatter to break a hole in the wall, and basically be Terminator, like, hey, come with us if you want to live. Which means that it was now an encounter made for 7 people, a deadly encounter for 7 people.
With 6.
Second thing I didn't consider was the fact that
our cleric rolled like shit.
She just was not hitting anything. And so it was an encounter for 7 people with damage output of 5 people.
She also has bad spells set up. Like,
yes, she does.
Like, just don't.
She has a lot of I need to roll to hit spells, and that's terrible as a spellcaster.
Yeah.
And also her stat allocation is just like when Trey was like, okay, what's the DC? And she said 13. You have a DC of 13, Cat?
13?
Yeah, no, I got to a point in that fight where, not to reveal too much, I flubbed a couple of rolls because I kept exceeding her DC, and I was like, I got to give her something.
Sure.
Like, she has to have something here so that she doesn't feel awful. Because the DC was so low, it's like, it was fine.
So were we supposed to get out of that fight?
Supposed to.
Were we supposed to win that fight technically?
Yes. So the way that I saw that happening, because again, I just did not consider you sending someone to the back. The way that I saw that happening, first of all, the way that you guys entered that room was completely different than the way that I first saw it happening.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this thing is boarded up. They're going to go around, and then they'll all kind of enter in at one place and have a couple seconds to set up. Also, I expected whoever was going to be talking to the villain would actually like go with the role play and talk to the villain rather than just sort of like,
that's a whole nother conversation we've had before,
rather than just start a fight. But yes, I the idea was that you guys would go in the room, basically clear out the villains. I would say I was sort of like positioning 1 or 2 of them to get away. And then you guys would unlock the door and meet the person that you were trying to meet. I did not consider the fact that you were going to split the party by 1 and have him go to the back, which is an ingenious idea, by the way.
It was awesome.
It was one of the best ideas I think we've ever seen at our table. And of course, you guys were talking about it while I was smoking, so I had no idea what was going on until I kind of realized, oh shit, like this is fucking cool.
So let me ask you a question. Now that I've had a week to think about this, and we've talked about it, and it's just cool the way it played out. However, if we were supposed to win, or you kind of wanted us to get out of this, why did you send the second wave in?
I sent the second wave. Well, because at that point, when I sent the second wave in, things weren't bad.
They were, though.
They weren't at that point.
That is really because we didn't know there were minions at a time.
Well, okay, let me from behind the screen.
You throwing that second wave in took him out of position. And completely took me out of position.
No, he was already out of position.
Oh, did you already get to try to get healed?
He had before they had come in.
Okay. Well, anyway,
to the other side of the thing.
Yeah, I know. But you sending that second wave in basically took long range. That's what screwed us. If that wave didn't come in, me thinking about it more, if that wave of and they were just minions, boom, 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 they would have been dead. However, nobody knew that because, like I said, our choice on who we wanted to go for, every single time we chose one of the 1, 2, or 3 guys who had high HP.
Well,
so we had no idea the minions were even a thing.
There was a couple of things that like I could have done better.
Sure. So, anyway, so what I'm saying, and this isn't criticizing.
No, I know.
It's just an honest question. So that second wave, thinking back, that wave is what fucking screwed us.
Well, so when I had already had that second wave planned, and
you can not do the second wave.
I know,
yeah.
But the idea of that second wave, because I already knew when I looked at the layout of that map, I already knew exactly what you were going to do. Is you were going to stay in that doorway and shoot from it, because that's what you do.
Sure.
So the idea of the second wave was to funnel you into the room, but the whole thing. I should have signposted earlier because there was a moment where Kat had killed 1 or 2 minions. But in like the chaos of me trying to manage everything, I completely forgot to mention like, hey, those 2 were minions. So what I had assumed would happen too is when that happened, there was a moment where 2 of the guys got in the room. There was 3 minions coming in. And for those of you that don't know, minions are basically, they are enemies that have the full stats of a regular enemy, but they have 1 HP. So if you hit them, they die. So when I got those 3 into the
didn't know that.
room, part of the reason why I positioned them the way that I did and didn't have them advance on you further was that I wanted to give you an opportunity to like take shots at them.
Sure.
To pull your attention away from that room.
Sure.
And I had expected that that's what you would do.
However, like you said, you never made it clear that there were
No, I
minions
know.
in this thing, and I had to assume because the round before I dished out almost 40 damage on one guy, and he maybe just got bloodied. So that's the assumption that we had to go off of what these enemies could take. Well, of course it wasn't all of them. I knew I was going after the boss. However, there was just no indication that I could take 3 dudes by myself.
And the other thing there was another thing that happened too, and I thinking back to it, this might be one of the reasons why I didn't mention that they were minions. I had given you guys basically, I was like, the social interaction failed. It just got fucked up. And so I was like, so here's what's going to happen. These guys are going to do something. And in between now and the start of initiative, basically everyone has one action that they could do. And so we had gotten to Taylor, and Taylor had said something along the lines of, can I figure out who like the big bad guys are? Like who has the highest HP or whatever. And he also wanted to do something else. And I was like, well, you can do that or that.
Sure.
And he got frustrated and he's like, I'm not going to do anything then. Because I don't know. But that's what it seemed like. It was like, because I didn't let him do both things, he didn't want to do either. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I think that was also part of my thought process where I was like, there was a moment in setup where you guys could have easily identified, because it wasn't like the DC was going to be high. You might not have been able to identify everyone in the room, but my intention was, as long as he rolled a 10, I would be able to point out these 2 are minions and these are what minions are. And I think that was also part of the reason why I didn't say anything, although I can't remember exactly my thought process. I think it was one part me forgetting, but other part me like, well, you had an opportunity to figure it out and you got frustrated and was like, I'm not doing anything then. And then you didn't figure out this thing that could have helped everyone out.
In that same turn too, it also would have been different, or could have played out differently, had I mentioned that I was putting on that helmet on the way over, like I was intending to, because I was intending on putting on the little like wolf helmet disguise on my way around the house, so that way I could use my action to then, boom, just blow the door.
Well, and part of that thing was that we talked about this, and this might not be the right way to handle this, but I had not planned to give the party an action. I thought that the way that the social encounter would sort of like figure itself out was that it would basically allow you guys to get into position and get set up. But because I was doing that with someone that just wasn't like participating in a conversation, I was basically like, well, this combat is going to start here because I've laid out what's going to happen. Like, talk to us, go away, or we're going to fight. And the person was like, no, we're going to fight. Okay, well, cool. Then these guys are going to go carry through on their threat. I can't constantly be making threats as a DM and not following through on them. And so they follow through on it. And I was like, well, I'm not going to punish the entire party for the actions of one person. I'm going to give everyone that action to sort of like figure out a way to start this combat off and then go from there. But in the original way that I had sort of envisioned that fight, which none of it went the way that I thought it would, but the way that I envisioned that fight was that like maybe some stalling would happen, maybe there was some better positioning, or at least more people were in the room to get that started, so that it didn't start off in a place where I had to give everyone a free action to not make them feel fucked over.
Also, I don't think, at least for me personally, I can't speak for everyone else, I don't think I would have been upset if someone messes up like an encounter or an interaction or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't blame you for then following through on like what needed to be done.
Well, the big problem with the way that went though is that
because that's just a part of accountability.
We talked about it last week. There was a moment where I sort of had to pull agency from the party, and there was a bunch of reasons why, but that was one of those moments where I was like, that thing happened so fast. The failure of that social interaction happened so fast that no one else had the opportunity to do anything. And that was what was like why I was like, let me give everyone a chance just to figure their shit out. Because it was just one of those things where like I just had expected it to take a little bit longer. And the fact that it was like it started and it was over and it was like, okay, well, he's not playing ball. This has to get started. I don't know. I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to at least do something because I just didn't expect it to end so soon. Yeah, because think about it, like if that had been drawn out a little bit more, you were using a spell called Shatter to break wooden walls, right? Mm-hmm. So it easily could have been a thing where the plan could have been like, hey, let's solve this conversation as soon as possible, allow Cal a second to blow the back door and get the guy out of there, and then we'll start combat after that. Mm-hmm. But let's stall this conversation as much as we can, right?
Mm-hmm. But if anything, that could have they might have even got like a surprise attack or a surprise round or
exactly
something.
But since that didn't even get to play out, even though I knew you were going around, that thing was like 5 seconds of real time of okay, I'm not going to play ball, this is over, combat starts. So I don't know, it was hard. It's hard DMing. It's not hard, it's just you never know. Like I was thinking about it afterwards, like I don't know. I want people to have fun at the table, and I think we occasionally get the end of those sessions like we did last week where no one's like super excited.
I had fun,
and you don't want to go to people and say like, "Did you have fun?" because that's a leading question. But it's also like, if you have a good time at the table and no one else has a good time at the table, or you can't tell that anyone else had a good time at the table, it's sort of, I don't know. At that point, it's like, oh, that wasn't actually fun. I'm just enacting some sick power fantasy and trying to fuck everyone over.
Well, sure. So I think that's kind of like where I'm not leaning toward any way, shape, or any one side or the other. However, you and I have had this talk before on, I don't know what the number is anymore, but you've killed somebody 50% of our encounters.
It's a lot less now.
Okay, yeah, sure. But, and unless you're one of those DMs that's out to do that, like I think your kill ratio is really, really high.
No, I think it is too.
And so that started thinking, and it's like you run the game however you want. Because like I said last Thursday, I think we're in a really cool, unique situation, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. But if you know that and you're thinking that way, but you still like send that second wave in, I don't know. I was just trying to pick your brain. I still don't understand why you sent that second wave in. If you may not have known that was going to turn the tides of battle, especially because there's a lot going on when you're a DM. There's, 11 people. Like, it's like, one of them says, it's not my job to keep track of my HP. Just kidding, Everett. But you did say that. Remember that?
No, it was in the counting of how much damage I was getting. I was like, it's not my job to determine the damage.
Got it. Anyway, keeping track of a whole bunch of different things, I get it. It's just interesting because I was thinking about it. It's like that was a turning point. And if I if I was DMing that, it's like I knew I was sending 3 more dudes in to a situation where one guy is close to being down, another guy had to run because he's gotten too much health taken away from him. Like, why would I send 3 more enemies?
Because
in?
At that point, I didn't know where Akuda was at. I also didn't know what Cal was gonna do. Like in my thought, I don't know.
Neither.
I didn't know what Cal was going to do after he blew that door. I also at that point
didn't blow the door. Should have blown the door. Didn't blow the door.
At that point, Haggis had been healed. So when I was looking,
did you get healed?
He ran around and then on.
Got 4 health points back though.
And then
was it only 4? Oh, David did only do 4.
But that was at the end of that initiative. So you got 4 back, and then Bren was at the top of next initiative, and she'd already said she was going to heal you.
But she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't.
But that's because this happened.
Usually how that goes.
This happened when I made this decision to carry through with this plan. I had already thought I knew the layout of the table because the bandits were at the end of initiative. Mm-hmm. So Bren's towards the top of initiative. By the time the bandits get their next turn, then you would have already been healed supposedly by Bren. Whether or not it happened is a completely different thing. But that was just the way that I saw it happening on the map, or just the way that I saw it happening like as things were playing out. So like in my mind, because I didn't know where everyone was at, and I wasn't aware like necessarily like everyone's individual like placing, and I wasn't aware of what Cal was doing. I just sort of thought like I thought that everything was going fine. And then it was sort of like towards the end of that next round where I realized, oh no, things are going fine because Akuda went down. And then I like Cal got in and I was like, oh, it seems like Cal's going to run away. So the situation where potentially the way that I saw it working out was that you guys add an additional 2 NPCs into that fight on your side, it all would have evened out and been fine.
No, yeah, I agree. That's what should have happened.
But Kuda going down really threw that plan.
Kuda would have died.
No, he would not have died.
How not?
Because you can do there's plenty of spells that don't go past walls.
But not that Cal knows.
Well, whose fault is that? Also,
Who plans for this?
Also, you had a hellhound on that side that could have probably easily busted down that door.
Cal doesn't know what a hellhound can do.
It was a flaming dog from hell. You can just assume that it can bust down a door.
But you would have assumed, then why would he have boarded himself into the room in the first place?
I don't know if he boarded himself in the room.
If he could easily kill those people, he would have.
But he couldn't, which is why you were there to rescue him. And you could have said, hey, my friends are on the other side of this door. We're here to take these guys out. Help us.
Yeah, but I'm also not trying to spend like 30 minutes figuring out what to do on a turn.
What? Doesn't make any sense.
It does make sense. It means that sometimes you gotta make a decision on the fly and just go with it.
Sure.
Well,
I agree.
But that was sort of why I ended that session the way I ended it, because I was like, we can keep going through with this, but like it's gonna be a TPK. And maybe one or two people go away, but like people are like it just positioning and all that. There was a lot of things wrong with that, and there was a lot of things I could have done better. It's not like I'm trying to absolve myself. It's more like I think when you're making decisions in the moment and you really only have half the perspective, it's a lot harder.
Sure, I agree, but also it is your right as a DM to stop everything and say, what is your HP? Where are you at? What's your HP? What are you going to do next? You can ask that.
I know, but it's also like I look at the table. Everett and I had a moment where he took a pretty bad attack. He took he took an assassination from an assassin.
Sure, yeah.
And I was like, "How are you doing?" He's like, "I'm okay." And I ask people that at the table all the time, and we had this conversation afterwards.
Sure.
I'm like, I need honesty.
You did say you were okay, and you had 6 health.
I felt like that was okay. I mean, I only have 20 health.
You have 26 health.
Yeah.
I saw your stat sheet. You have 26 health, and you went down to 6 health. And somebody asked you if you're okay, and you said yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I was going to drink a potion, which I did.
Which you did. But it's one of those like
You can also look on D&D Beyond and look at all our stats.
I can, but on top of running,
Health, in this case.
Well, but it's hard. Like,
sure, but that's where that whole thing is like, dude, just you can say as a DM, you can be like, I need everybody's HP right now.
Well, but then that's the other part too, is I get shit from Taylor all the time.
Fuck Taylor.
But
no
I
offense.
get shit from
Taylor, if you're
all the
listening to this,
time,
no offense.
Where he's like, I'm okay dying, and he knows that occasionally, like, I have to save him from my side of the screen because I don't know what's going on with him. He's like, if you're gonna kill me, just kill me. It's like, okay, but if I kill you, it's a problem with 5e. The biggest problem with 5e is a numbers game. The second that one side or the other is outnumbered, the dominoes just start to fall. And so, like, if Akuda dies in combat, it's a big deal. Like that puts the other side, depending on where the fight's at,
sure,
a huge advantage in the enemy's side. Sure. And it's not like I'm sitting down at the table and like I'm gonna outright kill everybody. And I also just need to stop thinking I know what you guys are gonna do. Because the last couple combat sessions, the way that you guys have been handling things is it's like we are all going to group up on the same enemy and just sort of go one by one. Or like the melee fighters will get on one enemy and the long range people will just sort of like pick off the weaker guys or like focus on someone else.
We didn't do this time again for some reason.
Yeah, this time it was like everyone was focusing on a different enemy and it was like, oh, okay, well, this is a bad place to be at because 3 people in any given round of combat, you guys do 40 to 80 damage depending on rolls. You by yourself can do 40 in one attack. And
2 attacks.
In one round. Okay. And so like that's a shit ton of damage.
Sure. That's if I
roll. For level 3.
That's if I roll great.
Which you usually do.
Yeah, I think the most damage, but that's the thing, the most damage I put out was like 23 damage in one round. Like that was
one round or one attack?
One round. That was really fucking good damage in one round. Maybe 20, maybe 29 with that offhand.
It's not bad for
no, it's not bad at all. But that's you can't. Well, at least in my head, yeah, you can definitely make encounters based on what you think people are going to attack and have their you say we can dish out anywhere from 40 to 80 damage per round. Sure, but you can't build an encounter with that 80 number in mind.
No,
you almost have to build that encounter with like 30 in mind.
I don't build it with 80 in mind. I usually build the encounters where like
anywhere from 20. I would say anywhere from 20 to 30 at level 3.
I usually average like I average 6 players at about 8 damage per round. Because that's pretty typical of
so about 24, 36 damage.
24. I usually average you at 20.
Sure, yeah.
Because you, on average, do about 20 per round.
However, so unfortunately, most of the time, I do my 20 to 30 damage on one guy that has 1 HP. Because that happened twice that whole fight. So I dished out, like the first guy I killed was a sneak attack. So I think I hit him with like 19 damage. You gave us that one extra action. I took that one shot. He did like 19 damage on a minion. Mm-hmm. I took him down in one shot.
Well, also to be fair,
so that was almost like 18 damage wasted on one round. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
but also like that. But that's just the way that like 5e is just not an exact science when it comes to
it's definitely
combat
not.
Balancing, because CR rating is supposed to take into account
it does not.
Players' level and all that.
No.
But the reality is that, I said it in the group text too, that like the amount of damage and the amount of things that the average player can do compared to the average CR equivalent monster is so significant that we would be wasting our time in battles because there's no reason.
Sure.
And so like sometimes I hit it. Sometimes I do it perfectly. There have been combat encounters where I've balanced it perfectly. I've thought through everything and it's been great. And then occasionally we have things like, I think last week's was the worst example of me sort of flubbing it that we've had so far.
But it's a learning experience too,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's just, yeah. And you, like you said, you had to take into account that Bryn wasn't hitting anything.
Yep.
She couldn't hit the broadside of a fucking barn Thursday night. It was ridiculous how bad she was rolling. But you also got to take that into account. We can do 20 to 36 damage in one round, but you got to take into account that somebody's probably going to roll shitty all night. So that is down another 8. You know what I mean? Well, it's all those little things.
That's the other problem with like spellcasters though, is that like, even looking at her spell list, she has things on there that, even if you fail a save, you still take half damage, right?
Sure.
She
should be using those quite often, but she's not.
She should also have more of them. But
also, I had no idea how bad healing warlocks are. He has 2 spell slots. It just didn't dawn on me.
Yep.
He's got 2 spell slots as a 3rd level warlock. And then
bonus action you can heal.
Sure, and I think he probably healed you for out of total at level 3. He probably dished out maybe less than 10 points of healing with all his little charges of healing. Like holy shit, that sucks. Bryn's isn't. Bryn was healing for 12 HP.
In general are pretty bad.
Mine isn't. I'm fucking dishing out 19 to 25 damage every round.
You also kind of custom
I haven't customed anything. I'm just a rogue.
with a gun.
Sure, but the gun still does the exact same amount of damage a shortbow does.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing special about a gun. It just shoots a round bullet instead of an arrow.
Yeah, no, the way that we had looked at it when we were looking at using guns was just making sure it wasn't better than comparable crossbows.
Right.
Because it was more for flavor than anything else. Also, he doesn't have to worry about like the reloading every time he shoots property of it. But, it's a thing.
Yeah, I know. That was my question because I thought about it last night. It's like, man, that second wave is what really fucked us. If that second wave didn't come in, we would have made it out of the encounter just fine.
It's also, part of the thing about that second wave is part of having to deal with you as a DM, because you are very good at positioning.
Me?
Yeah. You.
Oh, okay.
Having to deal with you specifically.
Got it. Sorry.
If it were up to you in any encounter, you would sit like I said, I knew exactly what you would do in that situation. You would sit in that room where nothing can touch you and deal out 30 damage every round.
Yep.
And so part of the idea of the minions was either to smoke you out of the room.
Sure. Which worked.
Or to get your attention pulled off of that for a round.
Sure. See, my attention 100% would have been pulled off for a round if I knew they were minions. Well, if I knew all I had to do was fucking elbow him in the face, no big deal whatsoever.
And that was the thing about your turn.
Like, had no clue.
I can't remember what you did. but you didn't attack in that turn when you were running away.
There was 3 dudes in a room
Yeah,
with
you
me
bonus action
that
disengaged.
that I assumed had anywhere from 10 to 15 health.
You bonus action disengaged.
Yep. There was nowhere to go except into the living room where everybody was.
But I also thought like
Or down into a basement where there could be more spiders.
I just would have thought, you know, especially since we had talked about range of firearms and all that, I just was thinking that, like, okay, even if he tries to get out of that room, he's going to take a shot before he leaves. And when he takes that shot, he's going to realize that it's a minion, and he's going to be like, okay, cool, like, I can handle this.
Sure.
But that whole round, you didn't attack anything.
Sure. Well, I did. I attacked the main guy.
Oh, okay.
That was the one time that I dished out about 29 damage to the main guy and finally got him blood. Finally, after maybe 3 rounds of combat, finally got the main guy bloodied. That's the assassin, right? Was the main guy? Man, how much HP does an assassin have? Holy shit. Anyway, but the idea was to get in there. I got into that little nook corner, and I was going to wait for those other 3 to come out. Because they're gonna have to bunny hole it through that door, so I can pick them off one by one as they come through that door.
Yeah.
However, before that ever happened, shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
Akuta went down. Dominus went down. I feel like
No, he didn't, but he was close.
he was very close. Haggis was only like at 9 health.
Yeah, Dominus was
bleeding from the ass again.
I found out that was the other thing.
That was like 40 damage minus whatever I caught.
Yeah. With that assassination, yep.
But that was the thing about Dominus too, is that like that situation, I was like, I found out at the start of that next round, I was like, oh, if he gets hit once, he's down. Mm-hmm.
You were also rolling extremely well. Yeah. Dominus had an AC of 24, and you were hitting him every time.
Yeah, 1 out of 3 attacks. That was the issue. Like, statistically speaking, like,
24.
I know, but like, the enemies that were hitting him, because it wasn't the assassin wasn't hitting him.
No, it was it was the other guys.
Oh, it was the other guys, but they had 3 attacks. So like,
and plus what to hit? 4, probably
plus 5 or 6
on a CR 1/4, like a 1/4 CR enemy.
He wasn't a 1/4.
What is he?
They were veterans, so I can't remember what their CR was.
Fuck, man.
But yeah,
at level 3, plus 6 to hit.
Which, by the way,
Jesus Christ.
By the way,
some of our party doesn't even have plus 6 to hit.
Let me also put this into perspective because we're not like, I'm not running the module strictly. I'm running a side module. Yeah. So this encounter was different than the encounter that you would have fought.
Sure.
The amount of enemies that were in that original encounter are significantly higher. It's balanced for 4 people. The 2 sides are fighting each other.
Sure, yeah.
But also, veterans and assassins are still in that fight too.
Sure.
For a party of 4. So, like, those 2 things were things that I had pulled out, like, knowing that they were in an original encounter.
Sure.
Because I did have to change up that encounter a bit just based off of some decisions that were made in the story. It couldn't have played out the same way, or it wouldn't have made sense.
Sure.
But like, veterans and assassins were already in a fight for 4 level 3 people. So it wasn't like that. Like, it wasn't like I just was like, let me pick the hardest enemies I can and throw them.
Nobody said you did.
You. No. I'm just saying that, like, putting into perspective, like,
sure.
It wasn't like I pulled these things out in a vacuum.
Sure, yeah.
Who were they supposed to be fighting then? Because there was nobody else there.
The encounter that's in the book is completely different than the encounter that we ran.
So did they? Okay.
Yeah, that whole chapter 2 from the book is completely different than what we just did. So, and also I might reuse that stuff later, so I don't want to say anything. But yeah, so it, like, I balanced it knowing, like, oh, this was something else that was already happening. But yeah,
pretty good.
All right, that's our D&D talk for the week.
I'm tired.
It's like, you're really quiet.
I'm tired.
It's only 9 o'clock.
Only 9 o'clock. Yeah, I'm not going to bed anytime soon.
But you said you were tired.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
All right, old man.
We'll see you guys next week.